is up? That is our 30-second countdown. Hello to the world. Hello to you. Hello to me. Hello to us. Welcome to another Tuesday episode of Free Thinkers, your favorite adult content, adult language, free thinking, open-minded conversation. Some people call us a debate group, and I don't necessarily think that we are a debate group per se, but we definitely have conversations about pretty controversial topics, passionate topics. It's not always current events. Somebody asked if we just talk about current events, and we definitely do not. We kind of try to stay away from most current events, but certainly throughout some of the current events that are taking place, we do sometimes have conversations about those things if the principles and the points to some of the current events are relevant to debatable topics and conversations. So when we do things like pick a post, those are freestyle sessions essentially, where we do try to pick posts from our Facebook group page, and that is generally where all of our communications take place at. So if you have not followed us on our YouTube channel or on our Facebook page, it is definitely time to do so. The links are on my page, they're in the StreamYard, they're on the Facebook group page. The links are all over the place, but on our YouTube channel, you can subscribe over there and interact with us live in the comment section. And over on our YouTube channel, of course, you can view all of the different videos that we have. We have been uploading them to YouTube now for probably close to a year. So we've got quite a good collection of previous conversations up on the YouTube channel. And then on our Facebook Free Thinkers group pages, where all of our daily conversations take place, from things like what are some of your most annoying habits, to relationship questions, to political questions, to, you know, sometimes people will pose religious and ethical questions and spiritual questions and hot topics, and man, you name it. So a lot of our conversation is taking place on the Facebook group page. So it is important, if you do follow us, to subscribe to both of those places. If you ever want to join us on Tuesday, you don't have to join us every Tuesday. You can just join us some Tuesdays. We love for you to come and have these conversations with us. So if you're interested in ever joining us, then you need to follow both of those pages, subscribe to notifications, and then every Tuesday you'll get the notification, the link on how to join. Every Tuesday, the join link is also pinned to the top of our page on our Facebook channel, on our Facebook page. So it's no different tonight. At the very top, it'll be pinned. It says pick a post, and right above that, it has the StreamYard link. So every Tuesday, the StreamYard link changes. It's not the same. So you do have to be on the Facebook page to grab the StreamYard link. If you are not interested in joining the actual panel live and having this conversation live with us, but maybe you are interested in engaging in the comment section, chat away, post in the comment section, both on, or all three, on my page, the Facebook page, and the YouTube channel, all have a live chat feature there, and you are able to, sorry, I'm trying to close this window, and you're able to live chat there. They post, they show up in our windows here, and we generally like to discuss the things that y'all are posting in live chat too. So we do try to engage that way as well. Right now, my phone is still broken, so I can't see our live chat because that half of my phone is black. But we can still see I can still see the posts on the YouTube channel as well. So, nonetheless, follow us, subscribe, join, share. If you're watching right now, hit the share button for me. Straight up. You want to know what I want for Christmas? I want you to hit the share button. Every Tuesday, I want you to hit the share button. Even if you don't watch, hit the share button. Help us grow. This is how we grow. You know, it's free to hit the share button. So hit the share button, invite people to our world. We love to have these open dialogues and these conversations with people. You can join every Tuesday. You can join some Tuesdays. We do start at 8:05 live. Usually the first couple minutes is going to be me rambling and giving kind of the introduction to what we do, and then we'll jump into our conversation shortly after our start time. We don't like to drag our feet too long. Sometimes we have 2, 3, 4, 5 guests. Sometimes we have 6, 7, 8 guests. So it's never a huge ordeal. But just come prepared with conversation. If you need to come a little bit late, that's cool too. If you need to chime in or leave a little bit early, that's cool too. Just if you do join late, kind of pay attention to what we're talking about, you know, so you're not asking, what are y'all talking about? wait, listen, you go pick it up and
Double
jump on
Dutch.
in. But it is okay to come a little bit late. We just want you to follow where we are so you can jump into conversation.
Double Dutch.
And always, this is adult conversation, adult topics, adult language.
You know
So
what a
totally
pet
up to
peeve of
you.
mine is?
What you say?
You know what a pet peeve of mine is?
Hold on. Is it me that can't hear or is it you that's low?
Am I low? You can't
You
hear me?
are low because I swear I just turned my phone all the way up.
Okay, because I
And it could still be me. My phone is special like that, but I swear I got me turned up all the way.
I want to make sure I got the right.
No, I can't hear you.
Ooh.
Do you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
Okay, let me just make sure. All right, I think I got them all turned up.
Make sure my mic is. Oh, you know what? Okay.
Here we go. It's a little bit better.
No. It's the wrong one.
See, then we get to find our technical issues in these first couple of minutes. So we're giving y'all some time to find us and get the link and hit the button and put your name in there and join us. And while I can, but it's still low.
Huh. Okay. I'll mess with it a little bit more.
And let me see. Let me just totally confirm it isn't my phone. Hold on.
Yeah, I thought. Okay.
If you are listening to us,
I can hear both of you, but I know sometimes I can be hurt, but I want to be.
Okay, there we go. There we go. It might have been. I'm sorry.
It might have been mic and all this for nothing. I want to sound right.
I think it might have been me. I apologize. I turned my phone back up, and I can't see comments. I think I already mentioned that I can't see comments, so you'll totally have to be eyes on the comments because mine are.
Let me go back. You know what my pet peeve is?
What?
We dead in the middle of a good conversation. Then somebody get on and be like, "All right, wait. So what are we talking about now?"
What y'all talking about? Just
wait till you figure it out. Just follow the conversation. All right, so hold on. Let me get this straight. You want everybody to recap for you stuff we already been talking about.
Right.
For you, just recap everything directly for you to get you back into. Anyway, that's a minor pet peeve of mine.
Well, and then, you had mentioned a couple weeks ago that you explored another one of my pet peeves, and it was background noise. And I said that the reason it's a pet peeve of mine, especially when it's people that we know better, right? Like, you're coming onto a show, like, you keep the background noise down. We all know this. Because it's an etiquette thing. It's a manners thing, honestly, in my opinion.
I laugh at you because you have zero. You be like, and another, what is that noise? Can you please turn?
Who got the noise in the background? And go right back to the conversation.
Like, yo, y'all better turn it down. Shoot. I don't think she approves of that.
Some situations happen, right? Like every once in a while you'll hear my dog, every once in a while you hear the police running past my house, right? But for the most part, you are not going to hear interference by most individuals in this conversation because we're having a private conversation. Like, and with everybody having been remote for the last year and a half, 2-3 years, like, come on, when you're coming onto a live show, you got to cut your interference. Like, we all want to hear ourselves too, but turn one down and turn one up, and then boom, it's a wrap. That's all you got to do. So it's a thing about manners. I don't know. I think we've talked about manners and etiquette before. Maybe we need to do that one again, especially with the holiday season coming up.
We could do one on different types of etiquette.
We should. Phone etiquette, relationship etiquette.
Right. Let me write this down. I got my
Go ahead, because I got my notebook here.
Because even that was funny, and that's something we used to. Because I used to be a lab rat for like 10 years, and it was certain just like it's prison etiquette. It's when you up in there, it's etiquette. It's certain things you do and don't do. It's like, you must be new because you're
not doing nothing. Right. It just like that. You brand new, like you doing brand new shit.
Coming in, stepping on toes all over the place. It's like, you ain't got no etiquette. And those are the type of people in those settings I would just stay. I'm like, I'm staying away from them. Because I'm there to get paid. I'm like, these are thousands of dollars that I'm trying to get for my family. You're not getting me kicked out of this study because you don't know how to act right.
Well, we've done gift giving etiquette before, like how to give gifts and who to give gifts for, returning gifts, like re-gifting gifts, shopping etiquette, driving etiquette, parking etiquette, just professional courtesy. There's so many ways etiquette can be explained. And I don't know, maybe it's a good time because I personally feel like as a society, there are far less courteous it just feels like there's far less courteous people that you run into on a day-to-day. And maybe I'm a little spoiled because growing up in the South, you generally are used to Southern hospitality and, you know, warmth and kindness for the most part, right? Like, even if you have an asshole in the South, they in their asshole ways still usually will hold a door and yes ma'am, no ma'am, you know, things like that. And it just feels like you don't see that as much today. People don't say please. People don't say thank you. I was telling my son yesterday, I was like, when you let somebody in or when somebody lets you in traffic, you say thanks. Like, it takes 2 seconds just to throw the deuce real quick and be like, hey, I appreciate that.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Acknowledgement.
And you don't have
you didn't have to let me in, but you did. I acknowledge that.
You. So thanks for letting me in. And you just don't see that. And I guess for me, I feel it the most in traffic because I'm a very courteous driver. I'm not an aggressive confrontational driver. Like, I'll move over if I'm going too slow. You can have the road. Like, I'm good with all that. But me anyways, I feel like I see that the most on the road. It's just inconsiderate, rude ass drivers who literally think that they're the only ones on the road and they don't take other people into consideration. So you know that bleeds into a person's regular life, and that's the person at work, and that's the person at the kids' daycare, and that's the person at the kids' game, and it's like, you just kind of suck everywhere. So etiquette would be a great conversation.
That makes I'll just save it because
we got etiquette. We got etiquette coming up. I like etiquette. Tonight we didn't really have, I mean, we had a couple topics that we threw around in the group. Nothing else was mentioned, so we're gonna roll with it. I know you don't always like to talk about current events, and so I was kind of explaining in the beginning that we don't generally do current events. We do the principles or the meaning behind like some of the current events that are taking place. So we don't get into necessarily the gossipy side of what this celebrity's doing or that celebrity, because generally most of us really don't give a shit, honestly. But when it gets to like the principles of what they're doing, if it's, if we feel like it's a debatable conversation, then we will.
Some other people better jump on here, because
I know
if we talking about what I think we talking about, I'm not going to be a great conversationalist. I'm like,
well, and so sometimes that's our dilemma, right? And so, those of you who are watching us, you're seeing me and Q can talk all day long, but if we agree on everything, which we don't always do, you're gonna have a real boring conversation. So we want other people to join us in these conversations who do have varying opinions or may have slightly varying opinions. It doesn't matter which direction you go, so that we can discuss what your point of view is, and my point of view, and Q's point of view, the next person's point of view, to really learn the most out of these conversations that we can. If we all agree on the same thing and we all feel the same way, it's great for support, but it's not always the most interesting conversation.
Talking about this Earth conversation, then it's like, okay.
And I was like, well,
I'm not.
I don't even know if you want to talk about the flat Earth. But
I'm open to talk about anything. I just don't know how much. It's not going to be a long conversation.
Right. Well, and I posted the thing on the Facebook group page earlier today. I posted actually one of my favorite, it's the introduction video that I give to people when they express some interest about flat Earth. And so, we hopefully will talk about some flat Earth stuff tonight. Denise and Smack, so they're supposed to be here. But so I personally don't get into the conversation about flat Earth with just anybody. And I think that with most topics,
so let me interview you on this then.
Well, but hold on. But you have to be cautious about topics that you delve in with some people, because if a person literally has no knowledge, has done not a second of research into another person's perspective, it's, for a person like me, it's almost a waste of energy to do this. I need you to go do some research first, and then let's talk about the questions.
And that's my problem. And I don't like having strong opinions or debating about things that I haven't really done homework on. Matter of fact, I have issues with people who like to have strong opinions about things that they haven't done homework on.
I agree.
But what I can do, I can interview. I'm good at interviewing and asking the questions. I would, like Smack sideways, say I become a student, even though he still be trying to school you while he a student. But that's a different story.
But to still stay in student mentality, though, I don't even in most conversations with Smack, and we do agree on a lot of the same things. So maybe it's easier for somebody who has similar beliefs. But he's not teachable, you know, like even though he may know a lot of shit about a lot of things, like he'll still come
no, he is.
of being
He
an open
definitely
listener.
is.
Yeah.
He definitely is. But I'm just saying, usually when he says he's coming as a student, okay. Anyway,
he got a lecture behind it.
Anyway, but I'm not saying that he don't. But anyway, it's just whenever I hear them words, I'm coming as a student, I'm like, oh, you about to try to school somebody on something.
But we also don't want to come across as all-knowing, right? Because we don't know. We don't really know. So it is still, you know.
So let me come not as a student, but as an interviewer. I want to, because it may not even go directly to that. So let me ask you. Let's go to the flat Earth thing. Let's go to the flat Earth.
Okay, all right. Let's jump into flat Earth.
I'm gonna ask you, what was your first? Okay, hold on. Let me go back here. Let me go back. Start from the beginning. On a scale from 0 to 100, what is your conviction level when it comes to the Earth being flat? Are you at completely 100? Or are you like at an 85? I'm pretty sure it is. Or the information, are you 51%? Or are you kind of in the middle? Where are you at on a scale of 1 to 100? What's your conviction level?
I 100% believe that this Earth is not a ball. I 100% believe the Earth is not a ball. I can't tell you necessarily if it's the shape of a plate or the shape of a oval or the shape of a snow globe, or I believe it's more snow globe like, huh?
So a snow globe is a ball.
But we are here. We're covered by a snow globe. So the Earth itself, there's no ball to it. It's I mean, it is kind of like a plate essentially. And you know, different within the flat Earth community, you know, people do have some different ideas about what it may or may not look like. But I definitely do not believe that this this is not what the fuck we live on. This ain't it. This is not it. This is not it. That's
okay,
not
let me ask you.
So
if you can recall, I don't know if you can, but I'm gonna ask you. If you can recall, what was the first? Okay, I'm gonna go back even before I get to that. What was the first thing that made you question your original belief that the Earth was round?
I'm glad that you asked that question, because I've had this conversation with a few people, and I think I've had that conversation the most with probably Smack and my kid's dad, because you know we were together forever, and he too is a flat earther. So I think I've had that question asked and that come up to me the most. And I remember, and this is why I have this globe. Like I'm not using it as like a joke prop, but I remember
it seemed like you were I just happen to have this globe right.
And Smack will tell you, like, I've had this conversation with Smack. I dropped my globe. God damn it, I dropped the globe. So in thinking about globe Earth, right? I remember being in kindergarten and everybody had globes in their classroom. We all had globes in our classroom. And I remember thinking to myself, how can people that are supposed to be on the other side of the planet, on the other side of the hemisphere, like how are those people literally standing upside down on the other side? Are the ships like going over on the other side? Like logically, even in kindergarten, it didn't make sense to me. And so at that time, asking questions, you couldn't ask those questions. And I thoroughly believe that for me anyways, my curiosity, my ability to use logical thinking was almost squashed at a very young age, because it was, you can't ask those questions. Like it just doesn't make sense. It just is the way it is. Gravity does this, this is this, this is this. And then they throw out huge words, astronomical math that doesn't make sense to any fucking body to kind of dumb you down. And so going from being inquisitive to how in the world can there be people standing on the other side of this globe, but they're not upside down, and a teacher couldn't make that make sense. It was just, well, this is just what it is. So that for me is where it started, and I think that's where I think that's where the indoctrination begins.
And I think that's the basic curiosity that most kids have. Okay, if this is round, then if I'm on the bottom of it, then how do I stay on?
But they teach you not to question that, though. They don't make it to where that's an open conversation that you can have. And so it certainly created a template for me in my education where it was like, don't ask questions. Or if shit don't sound right, you are too dumb to question if it's right or wrong. So
okay, so let me ask you this. So that's, you know, that's the normal innocent curiosity that I think most people have, and then we are taught to just go along with the flow. Over time, I even heard you talking about, I think last week, where you was like, yo, I was thinking about getting a solar system tatted on my arm. So at a certain point in time, then you did adopt the round earth theory, correct?
Because that's just all we knew. So
sure. No, don't worry about
any other thing else. So it has to be round.
I'm slow walking this.
It has to be round. There has to be planets up there. The sun has to do this, and the earth has to do this. Like, we'll never
get
there.
That mentality at one point in time.
Sure.
Now, let me ask you this. This is my question. What, if you can remember, I don't know if you can or not, what was the first piece of information once, you know, you had the questions, then you adopted round earth, and then you went along with it, solar system, all that stuff. What was the first piece of information that you received that made you raise your eye and say,
I don't know if it was so much a piece, but definitely when you begin.
Was it a specific documentary? Or
well, when you begin to question whether or not we ever went to space, it kind of.
Was that the first thing for you?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think so.
So you started questioning the space thing.
I think.
See, now,
and it then turns into a rabbit hole. You then start going down the rabbit hole of why would they lie about this? It makes no sense to lie.
Listen, there's certain things I will admit. When I saw that interview after they came back from space, and I said, they ain't go nowhere. They were lying. They ain't go nowhere.
One of the astronauts even said they never went to space. So then when
I didn't even have to hear them say it, I could tell they were lying because they were so tight-knit asking a question. And this is what I say: whenever someone actually experiences something, you can tell the truth from a lie in the things that you don't ask them that they give you.
Right.
See, what a liar does is, you ask me a question, I'm gonna answer a question. I'm going to answer it very simple.
Yeah.
Because if you ask me another question, I need to be able to remember to lie. And as much stuff I add, I got to make sure that everything I respond to is very simple and plain.
Yeah.
Whenever you've experienced something, then it's not just what a person asks you. You are eager to fill in the blanks of what they don't know to ask. Like,
and
you know,
you can easily do so because it's truthful information.
Because it's truthful. So it's like, even like when I took my son to Six Flags for the first time, it wasn't just, oh, how was it? Oh, yeah, it was fine. It was fun. It's like, no, I'm going to tell you, hey, when we went in, the first thing, we had to go through the line, and then we had to, and they're going to give you information that you didn't even ask, because like, hey, let me give you the whole rundown of how the whole experience. And when they didn't do any of that, I'm like, oh, they lying. Oh my, think about that. You go to the moon, you leave the earth, go to the moon, experience something that nobody has ever done before. You'd have so many details of information that you'd want to give to the rest of society and tell them, hey, this is how it is. And you know what? It was cold, and I felt my fingertips almost freezing. And then when I turned this way, and then I thought I saw something, but then, you know, and it looked like it's little roaches there or something. You're gonna like give all types of little information.
Because it happened. And,
you know, part of me, I felt it. It looked like a hard rock, but it crumbled in my hand. And, you know, I took a little piece of it and put it back on the ship. So when I got in, I wanted to see what it felt like. None of those things that a normal person, the details, they didn't mention. I was like, yeah, they lying on that. Yeah. But anyway. Go ahead. So
for me, I think that was one of the greatest ones. I mean, there's a lot of other conspiracy theories that I have certainly subscribed to for most of my life. So already had a mindset that was willing to think a little bit out of the box. But I think that when I really started to question the moon landing and then going
first the moon landing, now you asking like, okay, so if they lying, why did they lie about
why did they lie? What's the purpose? And then always, of course, hearing people get teased about being flat earthers. And then coming into documentaries, I think Admiral Byrd's interview, he was one of the first people that traveled to the to pass the ice wall, who traveled to the other parts of land. So I think coming into some of those things, then you just rabbit hole and you find more and you find more. And it's always easy to find stuff that tells you how fucking stupid you are for thinking that it's possible Earth could be something but a ball. But when you really start to rabbit hole down some of the information that supports that globe math does not add up. And I'm not a mathematician, but I know math generally doesn't lie. And when you start putting the math together about the size of the Earth and the speed in which it rotates and all of these things, you don't even have to be a rocket scientist to understand that some of this shit just don't add up. And if they've lied about so many other things before, why would this not be a possibility? And then when you subscribe to it and the math doesn't add up, and there's a million different examples that show you that it don't seem round, you just can't undo that. Once you open that lid off of that, you can't put that back in. Nobody. And I think one of the most important things that people who give us a hard time fail to realize is that most of us all believe the same shit that we all were taught. We all believed the same thing. So to get to a place where we say, I don't believe what they taught us anymore, and these are the reasons why, like I don't even know what it's like to leave a religion, but it's like leaving a fucking religion, I would think, and having to profess that this one is now the truth.
So, okay, let me ask you this. I want to ask you this.
The criticism that you get is people don't understand the shit, like the walk that you walk that says that leads you to believe that you think the Earth is flat. That's not no shit that you do just because you watched one video and you want to be cool.
Okay, that's my question that I'm about to ask. So, from the point in time where, as an adult, where you raise an eyebrow, you see, I raise one eyebrow. Can you do that? I can only do it on that side. I can't do the other eyebrow. So, how long was it from the first time you raised the eyebrow till you got to this round Earth thing is total BS? I don't believe it at all. How long did it take from that initial aha moment to complete belief?
I was thinking about this earlier because Jules had mentioned a couple episodes ago that when she first met me, she didn't think that I was a flat earther. And I was like, well, I met her before we started Free Thinkers. But in all actuality, I've been a flat earther since I was with my kid's dad still. And we haven't been together for over 6 years. So I was thinking about it today. I was like, I think it's been at least a good 10 years that I've been on the Earth is not a globe train. I don't think maybe as vocally as I have been over the last, 5, 6, 7 years, but definitely started pulling the top back on that at least 10 years ago. So it's been a little bit. I'd be curious though, we got Smack on now. I'd be curious though to hear, I want you to ask him those same 2 questions that you asked me. When did the curiosity come, and how long have you believed that Earth was not a ball? Smack.
Okay. Did you catch that, Smack?
Me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
What are we talking about now? No, I'm joking.
You better see.
I wasn't even gonna answer. I was like, look, nigga, I'm gonna let you answer that.
Catch me up what we're talking about.
Hey, replay and look at my face when he said that. I'm like,
no, and damn well he didn't want to talk about.
Okay, what was the first question though?
At what age, essentially? When? What was it that caused you to?
Okay, no. Back up. Let me reset Smack on this one. were you always a flat earther, or were you neutral, or was there ever a time that you were a round earth person?
Yeah, I started off as a round earth person.
Okay, got you. Started off as round earth, and then so from there at what was your eyebrow raising point in your life? Said,
it was when my mom was in the Air Force, so she sang in Tops and Blues in the Air Force, and she got stationed in the Philippines. So this is me probably like 4th grade, 5th grade,
Okay.
and I was always getting in trouble a lot again. So we had these after school programs there because we had to go to school on the base. We live off the base. And we had this Korean monk. There was 2 of them. They were like teacher aides. And they would go on field trips with us. So we're in the Philippines. We go to this place called 1,000 Islands. And you know how they have those little things in New York, those little telescopes you look through? So the teacher starts saying, yeah, if you look out, you see the boat. And you see how you can't see it no more? It's because it's going over the curve of the water. And then the monk dude, he just said, they actually don't go over a curve. They're just out of your sight of distance of seeing. Now, when he said this, of course, we kind of thought he was crazy, right? But it kind of just made sense to me for some weird reason. It just like went, I never even thought of that. Like, and he's like, yeah. So him and our teacher, Miss Biglione, they're arguing. They're literally having an argument. And she's getting mad as shit, right? And he's like, what? Hey, no. He said, I can prove it. She goes, well, prove it then. You know, they're doing all this. We're like in the 4th grade, right? And we just got through watching Breaking One or some shit. Anyway, because you know they're playing it on the bus. Anyway,
yeah.
So we looked through the telescope. He said, okay, wait till that boat goes out. So we're actually watching these boats. The boat goes outside. She goes, see, it went over the curve. So he kept saying to her, are you sure? She's like, yeah, you can see that it went over the curve. So most kids are going, yeah, it went over the curve, dude. We can't see it no more. He said, okay, look through this telescope. And there it was. And he started explaining, if it went over the curve, how are you going to see? She goes, well, that's just because you can see that. He goes, so a telescope is made where you can see around corners. You can see around. He said, so he started explaining the water. He's like, and then this is what really sold me real quick. He said, okay, so how far you think that is? She goes, you got to understand the water that you're looking where that boat is to us is so far out that the curve is there. That's why we can't see it. And I forgot what she kind of said, but the thing that nailed it was he said, okay, well, if there's a curve going this way, then look left to right. And as we look left to right, there was a straight line of water from as far as I could look this way all the way to this way. He said, now, how many miles do you think that is? And there's no curve. And that's what hit me. I was like, yo, okay. So that's what sparked my intrigue, was that right there.
You said this is like 4th grade?
We were in 4th grade, 4th, 5th grade.
That's what's up.
So that's what already sparked my intrigue about it. So then he goes on. She said, no, you can see it if you go to the top of blah, blah. So we went to this little cliff they had. We looked over, you still couldn't see it. So everything that she tried to say, and she kept getting mad, and he was saying that, he was like, and all y'all are going to get mad because of the truth, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, he goes on as we're taking the bus ride back to Angeles City, because we're like 3-4 hours out. He's just going into the whole historical thing about it and how it's one of the oldest conspiracies. And this is the first time I'm really even hearing conspiracies.
Right.
So then he says, yeah, you'll notice and this is like 1980, 4, 6. So he said, you're going to notice any science documentary you'll ever see, they never show you space.
Yeah.
And then he said the moon landing was fake. And that's when she just hit the roof. And he started breaking it down. Yeah, go look at the people like what you were brought up. Go look at them when they came back. Like, do they seem like they went anywhere? So he's breaking all this down. That's what intrigued me. Then when they then when we brought up the sun, and the moon and the sun are in the sky at the same time, and it never even dawned on me. Like, I was like, yeah, it is weird. So every day I would kind of come outside and be like, yeah, so if that's there, then what's on the other side? Because, you know, of course, when we went back to science class, they're like, no, you don't understand. The moon's over here. So when I'm explaining, like, hey, but the moon's outside right now with the sun. No, what you're seeing is a reflection. I'm like,
it's a lie.
but around a corner? Like, how is that? So anyway, that went on like that. I was intrigued by flat earth. So I got a flat earth book. I got all these things. Now, by the time I came back to California, to the States, and I started talking that flat earth shit, of course, everybody just thought I was, oh, you came from a foreign country. They're not that well developed. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, no, y'all don't understand. It wasn't like that. But in their mind, in kids' mind in the States, they really thought I was learning school in a hut somewhere.
Right.
And I'm like, no, it was a classroom just like this. Like, it was no different, you know? And also, but I got to back up a little bit. And while I was over there, that was the first time I had where I seen a UFO, and it landed in a field, and we all watched this, and it's actually documented. You can actually find this on Google, because the Philippines always had random UFO sightings up close, though, not like some far away shit. Like, they were actually landing in rice fields, and they were finding the cows, the carabaos, dissected and stuff.
Medically and surgically dissected at that.
Yeah, like with tools. They were saying that
like animals is not going to do this.
Yeah, so that was a big thing in the Philippines. Yeah, so that's how it started for me.
Okay, good. Let me ask you this.
Hey, Denise.
Hi.
We ain't got time for all that. We ain't got time for all that.
Back to the flat earth.
Does any of the documentaries or research that you've looked into, does any of them speak to the theory of why they lied about it?
Yeah, it goes back. There's a book called King's the Throne. These are all books that were pre-Bible. And they talked about the one thing that we all still talk about today, which is hiding the truth and hiding information. Because at one point in time, knowing information and knowledge was like forbidden, right? Like, you had to be in a certain club or a certain stature to know knowledge of certain things. You see this depicted in all kind of movies, from the 300 to Game of Thrones to all this stuff. Like, everyone's not privy to certain knowledge, you know. And here I'm gonna jump forward a little bit, but here's one right here with the Kyrie Irving thing. A lot of people say this.
Hold on. That sounds like you about to jump
No,
away from where
I'm gonna make a point. I just gotta make a point.
It's relevant.
I gotta make a point. I gotta make a point in it. This all just happened. Like, and Minister Farrakhan said something about it too. The whole Kyrie Irving thing didn't start with the COVID. The reason why they was mad at him already, or he was on their little radar, he was already trying to spread truth. Remember when Kyrie Irving brought up flat earth and they made him apologize? Remember when Shaq did it and they made him publicly apologize? And it's like, if it's so silly, why is he apologizing for something so silly? And why are y'all?
I didn't get that. I didn't get that. I'm like, why are you apologizing for that? That didn't make sense to me.
If you go back and look at the news clips, Max Kellerman, there was a couple other people. They were so angry. I mean, they were really angry about it. And it's like, why are they so angry? It triggered me back to the monk. The truth is triggering the anger out of you, but it's also because most of those dudes are Masons, high-level Masons, and that type of information is only privy to a certain group of people, right? A certain group of people. And even when you saw what Minister Farrakhan said, what are y'all really mad about? You're mad that he's in search of knowledge and information. Yep. It's not about that he says some anti-whatever. It's because he's searching for some type of knowledge. And that knowledge right there, when you start talking about that flat earth shit, that's where they start to just, oh, that's and if you really think about it, when there was the uproar of the flat Earth, when was this? Probably 2016 when it really happened. You got to remember, I was into this before there were any documentaries on this. There were no documentaries. There was no group of people talking about this. So even all through high school, when I would bring it up, I was quickly shunned down. Like, oh, that's because there was really nothing about it other than these old books. So for me to live in a time and see it pop back up like in 2016 and be so prominent and just people just all over the world, not a certain group of people, all different types of people talking about it. I was like, yes, see, I'm not crazy. This is an actual, and I've always said this. This is actually a valid argument. It's actually even if you don't believe it or you do, let's have a discussion and debate about it because it's actually a very valid argument.
Right. Okay. So, okay, got you. Okay, now is that as far as your answer go, or is there anything deeper that you can lend to that? As far as I know, you talked about controlling power, controlling things like that. Is there another specific theory as to why they lied about it, or even why they invented around Earth? Because at one point in time, the Earth was considered flat.
Yes. And all the kings, it's in the King's Dethroned. It's called King's Dethroned. And they were hiding the other land. There was other continents out past
resources, infinite resources,
all this stuff, huge trees. They talked about these huge trees like the Keebler Elves. You hear about that stuff. Like all these things you've seen in these movies. The what's that movie? The Five Rings or something like that. There's hella movies about this stuff. And they disguise it in a weird way. It's like, oh, y'all are talking about the whole flat Earth thing. The dinosaur thing, that's supposed to not be here, but on the other side of the ice wall. The whole zombie thing, other side of the ice wall. You've seen that in games, in the Game of Thrones, when they're talking about what's on the other side of the ice, the walkers or whatever, right? What else is it? It's depicted in so many movies, but the Admiral Byrd thing was a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
They got mad at him when he went on that show and talked about it. So up until the Admiral Byrd thing, when flat earthers were talking about there's an ice wall, they were also called crazy and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And here's Admiral Byrd, a well-decorated military pilot that headed expedition. He's saying it was an actual ice wall that surrounds the whole thing. He's saying this. There's video of him still out there talking about this. He led an expedition down there to Antarctica. They had to climb up on these. They said it was like 200 something feet or something crazy, 20 miles up or something. And he's like, we had to get up on top of the ice wall, and then you go so many miles. And when they brought these planes down there, the planes were crashing in midair. And they were talking about when they went to go research why is the plane just exploding in midair? It was hitting this dome. Now they're talking about this dome. So now it's like, okay, what? Then they said they found an opening. All you gotta do is go watch his first interview on that TV show. He says all this. Once they got outside up under this dome and across the ice wall, they came into land masses as big as the United States. They found oil, diamonds that looked like it was just stored, being stored out there. And they were finding species of animals that have been been distinct for years. So now when you go back again to the King's Dethroned thing, they were hiding this other land. When you look at the earlier maps, you have land masses called Nemo. So in these movies, they do this, right? Finding Nemo. You have the Asgard. That's actually like a continent out there. You have the Rothschild Island and all this stuff they talk about. These are actually on the earlier maps. They're all mapped out showing where they are. And basically we live in the center of it. And these other places are the outer parts. And there's another thing I want to say before I hand it over to y'all too. Remember, if you watched Farrakhan just do his speech recently, he almost went into it, but he held back And he said, he started talking about, the first thing he starts the interview off talking about is UFOs. And what he was starting to say is what y'all have heard me say on Black Tea Talk so many times. Some of these people are actually not humans, but we're not ready to have that conversation because we can't even grasp certain things. This is why these certain people are confused. That's why when we sit there and go, well, hey, that's so double standard. How do y'all not see that? Maybe because they're not human. They can't see it.
Well, something I wanted
Okay,
to
so
add
yeah,
to that.
let me ask one more question first before that, because you talked about a period in time where you saw UFO.
Mm-hmm.
Is are you referring, and the reason I asked that is because if we are you saying that you don't believe that there are any other planets as well?
I don't really believe there's any planets out there, only because, strictly because they've never showed me an actual photograph of one, and there isn't an actual photograph of any of them.
Okay. Well, my
There is
question
not in
is, if
exist.
there's no
There's not even a
planets, then
photograph of Earth.
okay. So my question is, if there are no planets, then what is the UFO that you're describing? Are you saying is it just from the outer wall? Because
The outer space, not outer space as in up in the sky, outer space. The outer space of the space we're in, the outer realms,
okay,
the outer limits. You know that show, the you know what I'm saying? Like the
right.
in the other continents that are on the other side of the wall. This is like you've seen this in space movies too, where they, and I've always talked about this, where I think in a lot of space movies there's some weird, and I can't prove this now, I'm gonna sound crazy. Uh but to me, I just feel it. It's like something I feel. I feel there's some kind of weird like intergalactic law, that's what I'm gonna just call it,
That's what you always
to
call it.
where to where they
It
have
makes
to
sense
tell you
though.
to where they have to tell you the truth. So the way they do it, since they're programming you already, they have to tell you the truth. So what they do is they hide it in sci-fi movies. But every sci-fi movie you've ever seen, no matter how crazy it seems, especially the ones from the 70s and 80s and 90s, everything they were doing in it, we are doing now. Everything from every cartoon to everything. We're doing it right now. Every single thing they've ever showed you in a sci-fi movie. So the one other thing I always seen in sci-fi movies that I put together is whenever they're going to Mars and they have to put you to sleep, right? And then you wake up and they go, "Oh, what year is it? Oh, it's the year 2042. Oh man, it was just 1980 when I left." Right? Um, I think they put you to sleep going over this wall, going, and you need a rocket to go that far because it's hella miles, right? Because if you were going straight up and the Earth was spinning 1,000 miles an hour, well, hell, we should still be able to see you. The next people that are rotating on the ball should have their
Right.
telescope, and we can still see them. They're right there, but you don't see that. When the rocket goes up, it goes over straight. It goes horizontal, and it goes way down there, out of your sight of distance. It's no longer going up anymore. But even if it was going down there, out of your line of distance, that's still up to somebody. Somebody would be like, "Oh, there's a rocket going straight up." Because if it's going way down there, that means the people way down there, by the time it gets down there and they're looking in the sky, is it still going horizontal or is it up in the air? See what I'm saying? So I think what they do, or what they're preparing people for, is they want you to think you're going to go to outer space, but really they're going to put you to sleep, freeze you, or whatever they're going to do. And they're just going to wake you up when you're on the other side of the wall and go, "All right, now you're in the year such and such." Oh, well, I want to go back and get my family. No, and they've already pre-programmed us with that, right? No, because everybody you know already is dead and gone. Because if you go back in time, they're already gone. But really, no, you just can't go back. I
Okay.
think it's
Now
like
let me.
different people own different sections of where we live. So these aliens that we talk about, like, even do this when we get off this live.
They're not really aliens per se
Search
because they
search
are
the
still a part
first
of the same area.
motorized, but search the first motorized electric car. And there's
Oh yeah.
actual footage of this shit, and they were in big wheels. like something out of Star Wars. Like all that shit from Star Wars, that's some shit they already made. And here was the other bigger thing the monk said. When the monk told us about this shit and was showing us pictures, back then it was pictures. Now there's actual video of this shit from back then. And so when you look at some of the technology, you're like, wait a minute, how did I almost get to my 50s and y'all managed to erase all this footage of way back in the day? You even have people where they're showing pictures of them back in the Hitler days and the what's the dude name with the mustache? What's his name? Charlie Chaplin.
Oh
And
yeah.
people are on cell phones. People are on cell phones. Time travelers, as they were
Time
called.
travelers.
Remember the time traveler movies and shit? So all
Yeah.
that stuff comes from there. And the last thing that we all
Quantum
really need to look at that really was a big conspiracy was the movie Back to the Future. Why are we?
Favorite movie.
It's called Back to the Future, not Back to the Past. So we're going back to the future, which means that shit already happened. That's the reason why we have deja vu, because we've already done this. We don't remember, but we have little fragments that remind us like, yo, we did this, which they call a glitch in the matrix, right? But we when you ask a scientist or a doctor, they say, oh, it's just because you had too much sugar in your brains, kind of. That sounds like bullshit. No, this felt like I did this before, and it's just slightly fucking different, right? And how could it be the same exact setup? And then the minute you go through that, you start trying to figure out, okay, what happened next? It's almost like you're starting your time chapter back over. Like whatever happened last time, you probably got hit by a bus, and now just like a video game, it's bringing you right back to where you started off that last level, Back to the Future. So do that. Look up some of the first electric cars and different technology, and you'll start to see even on some of the hieroglyphs in Egypt, they already had airplanes and shit like that. It's all already depicted. Like, so they already had this, and then something happened and they hit it. The Germans were known for having the Bell, which is a UFO. So this technology has already existed for centuries. It's even in old paintings where they're painting UFOs. Now, are those actually aliens, or are those the people that watch over this world, this West world we're in, that come in and make sure the elements are correct? I don't know, whatever. But I'm just saying. And I land my plane.
Oh, and you were about to say something, Nikki?
Well, you had
Well,
asked.
Nikki, before you say anything, Nikki, let me ask you first. Do you believe that there are any other planets or any other life outside of this piece of land?
I definitely do not think we are alone. There's no way that we are alone. So no, I don't believe that we are the only ones that exist. I don't believe that planets exist in the way that we were taught planets exist. I don't believe
even
that
if there were other petri dishes like this one, do you believe that there's others?
I do believe that there are others. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I've always thought that Earth, I literally have always thought that this was the Earth experiment. Whatever the Earth experiment consists of, I've always thought that that's what we were. So our time on this planet, we are Earth. Whatever may be going on over there, like, and Smack has explained it a few times before. Like his perception is like a piece of what's that bubble shit? That bubble tape, where it's like just like pods, just bubbles of planets, right? Different planets and different civilizations on those planets and different whatever's atmospheric conditions and whatever the fuck you want to call it. I don't know where I want to land in terms of what I think it looks like outside of us, because there's so many conflicting possibilities. But I too have seen UFOs, and that doesn't mean like we're the crazy fucking people in the room, right? But like I've seen unidentified flying objects. I've seen things in the sky. I've seen things like that. So I would be totally ignorant to dismiss those things. Now, whether that's our government doing them, I don't know, but it's still technically an unidentified flying object. But I do believe that there are aliens. I don't believe that they're just like these greens and grays like they paint in pictures. Like Smack talked about, these people, are they actually humans? I think there's a lot of humanoids. I think it would be ignorant today to act like AIs couldn't possibly exist. Like we don't really have, you know, meat suits. That's what my baby daddy calls them, meat suits, where we're just this computer dressed up in skin to look like humans, you know. So do I believe in planets the way I used to? No. And that shit broke my heart. Like subscribing to flat earth and having to realize that I don't believe in these things the way that they used, that I believed so heavily in. It's really sad to kind of come to that conclusion, because I believed in the magic of the planets and the magic of the colors and the magic of the sunspot and the magic of the rings and all of these things. And then when you're like, but I can see the sun and the moon at the same time. And I can see, you know, clear as day. You can be in Michigan and you can look across like, what is it, Lake Superior or something, and you can see fucking New York City. Like things that you really shouldn't be able to do if this is what we lived on. It just doesn't make sense. And it's sad for somebody like me. I believed in going to the moon. I believed in walking on it. I believed in moon rocks. I believed in all of these things, but I don't believe them anymore.
And then I'm gonna let Denise jump in, because I'm sure she always has great questions to ask. I'll let her jump in from there. But let me ask one more question. As far as from what I'm told by many people who I actually know, and if you look into a telescope and you look into the sky, depending on how strong that telescope is, you can see other stars, other round objects, other planets that they speak of. Is that an illusion? What is that as far as when you look into a telescope, the things that you see? What are you seeing? What you see, or are you seeing an illusion?
We're seeing what they told us that they were. So we see these white spots up there that they've told us were stars, that they told us were gases, that they told us were possibly planets dying out. So when you don't have anything else to compare that to, you're led to believe that this is what I'm looking at. But they look like lights underwater. If you put some Christmas white lights underwater, and that's what our stars look like up there. So I don't know what the fuck we're seeing up there, but I return that with the question of, if we're rotating at 1,000 miles an hour, how do they not move? How are the stars in the same position? How are the constellations in the same position? How do we stop on a dime every time? So they kind of go hand in hand, right? Because it sounds like we should be seeing stars because that's what they told us, but the other parts don't make sense. So then, are they actually stars? Are they things dying out? Are they gases? And if there's so many stars and they're so bright, why is it dark up there? Why isn't it more well lit in
Why isn't the
sky?
sun brighten up the whole thing?
Well, how does and so back in the day, right, they could say, oh, well, that's because the sun is on the other side. Okay, that's fine. But why can I see the sun and the moon when I'm standing in Texas? If I get to see the sun and the moon, what do the people on the other side see? Do they have a different sun and moon? Does the moon wrap all the way around and somehow they get the effects? So it's like, it's sometimes these questions, for me, the only way I can fucking answer them sometimes is with another question, because I think there is so much that isn't given to us to chew on, to come up with conclusions. And since none of us have been able to go up and take pictures and go up and see what they see for ourselves, some of the pieces, for me anyway, still have holes in them. But I don't know if those are stars up there. I don't know anymore. I don't believe that to be the case.
Let me add this to it. And this is where I thought you'd be all on board with it, Q, is because the other thing that the monk told us was how it was all through the Bible and showed us everywhere it was at. And I was like, wow, okay. Like, and it made sense, right? So as I came back to the States, I'm telling my grandma, it's related. Boy, you crazy. It's this. I'm like, but wait a minute.
It's in the Bible.
And this is what really kind of turned me away from religion, because I was like, or the Bible, or just the concept of like being into it. Because I'm like, well, wait a minute. It's in the very first chapter. So if y'all say that's bullshit, then I mean, damn, the whole damn thing. It ain't even worth me even investing in the rest of it. if this is talking about the creation of where we actually are, and you're saying that's bullshit, when it even says it's fixed, it's like, but when you bring that up into a church or you bring that up to people, they'll be like, nah, they got it wrong. Like, they got it wrong, but I thought this was given to them by God. Like, he got it wrong. Like,
the firmament, you know, the waters above, the waters below.
Yeah, and when you really look, and when you and that was the one credit I really gave the Bible. I said, yo, if this is what it's explaining, and when I look out here, this is actually what I'm saying. They'll say, no, it says it's on the circle of the earth. Yeah, it doesn't say the ball.
Right.
And they knew back in them times the difference between the ball and the circle.
Right.
And we all know that those stories were taken from other stories. And those stories are talking about an actual flat earth with an ice wall inside of a dome or a firmament.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, and it makes sense. It's like, to me, that makes sense. And to add on to it, like I was saying before, when you look back at the technology, could it be possible that if they had electric cars and flying machines back in the Egyptian days, but this has all been erased, but you see, you can see this technology existing in the 1930s, 20s, 1910. They've done a great job at kind of wiping a lot of it away, but you're still seeing some of it. Could it be possible that the technology became so great that we are the technology? If we are 6 electrons, 6 protons, and 6 neutrons, and we are electricity is running through our brains. We move like robots. There's actually electricity firing off in our brains. We have these cameras as eyes. I'm out here right outside of Kirby Lane right now, right? And I'm just looking, and sometimes I find myself looking at things like all these cars, traffic going by, just different things. And I'm like, wow, man, this is really a trip. Like, no matter how I turn around, look, there's something, it exists. We send text messages. We have these smartphones, but if we're made up of 70% water and 6 electrons, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, when I talk to you, that's that's electricity, basically. That would be technology, wouldn't it?
There's a current, there's a frequency.
So it's like I'm a like they said in the movie Westworld. We found a way to make robots organically with DNA tissue, so we don't have to spend money on actually making them robots. So this whole process we're going through creating robots is really to get back to us, because isn't that what they've been trying to do? Clone, do all these things. When you see Attack of the Clones and all this stuff, like, I just feel like that's what it is. So your thought is actually an electric charge. Your thought is that. And even if I think in my mind, I'm going to tell this girl a piece of my mind, and I send that through a text message, and she reads it and takes it a certain way, how does she take it a certain way if it's just words she's reading? That means my electric impulse was able to actually put a vibration in the phone that she downloaded. So we live on a large circuit board of some sort. And we're all scared to death, but who gave us that concept? Why? Why does it feel like when we dream, it's so real, but the explanation they actually give you is some bullshit? It's like, no, I felt that shit. One time I told y'all this, right? Might be too much information. Remember I told y'all I was having sex with Beyonce?
No, I don't think I've heard that.
I remember back in high school, I had sex with Janet Jackson. Woke up, shooting up the blanket. Couldn't even explain it to my mom. Like, it just fired off on its own. Like, I don't know, what the fuck? Like, right? We call those wet dreams, right? But it was so real. How did it just fire off my tool like that? Those are
that's the case.
Those
Janet
are electric.
Jackson is the biggest hoe in the world, because
everybody
a lot of people.
She's a
Like I
hoe.
said, I've had dreams before with
Unconsented
me,
sex.
Eminem, and 50 Cent. One of my last big ones like that was like me, Eminem, 50 Cent were on our way to a concert, and I forgot like my instant replay. So I'm jumping in the van trying to go get it, and I could never find my way quite back to him. But I'm talking to Eminem. I've never even had a conversation with this dude ever in my life. It was so real. It felt like I did that before. You know what I'm saying?
No,
And I've
Dave's
had
not good with
many,
the
many
script.
situations like that. I
What do we
think we've
got there
just
for
done this
comment?
over and over again.
Okay, so let Denise, I'll let you jump in.
Hey, Denise.
I don't know what you watched or what questions that you have, but
Excuse me.
give us
So
some
I
input.
did watch,
Mm-hmm.
I probably watched about 20 minutes of the video that Nikki posted, the 200 reasons why you should believe in flat earth. And that I think that's the same one I probably tried to watch before, or it may have been one a little more complicated. And some of the things they were saying, like when they started getting all deep and getting into formulas, and it's like, I'm not a scientist. I'm not. Truly, I am not a scientist, and I cannot confirm or deny if these things are accurate or not. But then they started getting into some shit that was feeling like common sense to me. And I was like, go on.
Okay. Do you have one or two things that stuck out to you that raised your eyebrow?
I was like, go on. And they were saying something about, you know, the earth going 1,000 miles per hour in one direction. And then a plane going 500 miles per hour in that same direction. And then basically saying, like, how the hell are you going to get to your destination if that's what it is? And then if they're going the opposite direction, you would get there faster, right? You know, and I thought that was some pretty like basic shit that made me think that there could be some truth to it. But I don't know enough about aviation and winds and whatever.
Look, I don't either, and you don't have to. When they
Well,
think
let me
about,
ask
think
a question though. Let me ask a question. If you are driving in a car and the car is going 80 miles an hour, if you have a ball and you throw the ball up in the air, does the ball, like, I mean, a lot
gone.
of times don't the I don't know how to say it, like you or your atmosphere adjust to the condition or the motion that's already taking place?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, just because now, you know what, I do, you know, I don't know, but it's
It would
just
have to
like,
be like
just
an
because,
airplane or something. You'd have to be
Yeah,
separate from the earth.
could it be something that's on land?
or that, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If, I mean, as far as
Take
what I
those
understand,
two planes that just
Here's
crashed
another
in
thing.
Dallas.
Hold on. Here's another thing that they said that I found very interesting that made me go, huh. If you're in a helicopter and you're hovering, if the world is going 1,000 miles per hour, can't you just hover in some cases and you kind of arrive at wherever your destination is going to be if you're just hovering? Not necessarily, but you know what I'm saying? Like if you had the coordinates just right to where you just could hover until it's boom there and you just land. You know, I mean, there were some interesting things. But again, I can't. I'm in the middle, and I'm kind of just like I can't prove it's flat or round because I don't have enough. I don't have enough.
Discovery stage.
But no, what I'm saying is I don't. For me, I don't feel like I have enough knowledge about how science works to confirm either or. So somebody could say it's
It's
round
not
because
about science. It's the
it's
math. The math, the numbers don't lie. Think about how they showed you the Suez Canal in that documentary.
math is science.
No, science can be challenged. Science is
You
challenged.
ever taken a
Math,
chemistry class?
Science,
You do a
but
whole lot of math in chemistry.
yes, you will. But science can be changed. But if you say 1 + 1 is 2, one item, one apple plus one apple is 2 apples. Like, so the example that they give in this documentary, the Suez Canal, it's like 100 miles long. Planes, rail, bridge, infrastructure, none of these things that are built onto the surface of the earth take into consideration the curvature required for proper building dimensions. And I think the math is something like 8 inches
per mile
per every
per
square
mile squared.
is when the curve is supposed to take place. Like, and I know it's funny to keep bringing this up, but this is it. This is what they tell us we live on.
Yeah.
How
Well,
does
my only argument is you're still speaking science too. But
my thing where I still can't confirm that this is right or wrong is that someone is still saying that this is the math that's supposed to be used.
That's the math that they gave us.
Right.
If what they told us, the circumference of the Earth, 26,000 miles around, based on the 1,000 miles an hour we're supposed to be spinning, if we use the math that they gave us, it doesn't add up. It does not. So there would not be a possible way for a rail track to be built without taking into consideration where the curve takes place. There's no way the Suez Canal can be 100 miles complete flat line if there's 8 inches of dip every square mile. There's going to be some account taken in for where the Earth's surface is supposed to start to dip, where it's supposed to go into a ball shape. And that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. There's not a single engineer. There's not a single engineer that can tell you where the curve math is taken into consideration in building plans. And that's just one of the few that it's like, well, damn. How do you argue that?
In the chat say the air moves with it. So this is where that falls apart. When they shoot guns, they always say they have to make up for the curvature, like a sniper has to make up for the curvature of the earth. So if the air is moving with the land, then why would he have to make up for the curvature of the earth if it's all moving together? He wouldn't have to. See, sometimes they pick it like, oh, the air, the atmosphere, and everything's moving with it. Then sometimes they say, oh, he has to put in account the curvature and the wind chill factor of everything going on to shoot this. Yeah, I can get the wind thing, but the curvature of the earth. So let's say, like Denise was saying with the plane, right? Here's another problem.
Plane, it's called an airplane. What's a plane? A straight line. That's flat.
An average of 400 to 800 miles an hour. Even on its re-entry, it's flying at 400 miles an hour, getting ready to land. If the earth below it is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, which direction is it spinning 1,000 miles an hour? Is it in the exact rotation of where the plane's going to land? Because if it's just even slightly curved to the side, spinning 1,000 miles an hour, as soon as that plane hits, what would happen? It would just tumble over, right? We all just saw the accident that just happened in Dallas, where the plane hit the other plane. The big plane is flying 800, right? The small one's flying at 4. To me now, it looked like the little plane meant to crash into that plane, but I'm just saying, but if it's all moving like that, it would have all been at different speeds to where that wouldn't happen. But the main one is when the plane is landing. If the earth is moving at 1,000 miles an hour, do you know that plane would have to line up in the same rotation it's about to land on? And even if it landed at 400 miles an hour on something that's moving 1,000 miles an hour, it would have flipped the plane naturally. It'd be moving too fast to land on it.
My thing is, this is my thing again. Who the hell is coming up with these numbers?
They came up with these numbers way back in the day. That's why it doesn't work now.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like somebody just randomly was like, I think it's 1,000 miles per hour. Like, who's coming? We can't even confirm that. So what is it? We don't even know if it's really 1,000. Maybe it's
So-
2 miles an hour.
Right.
Maybe it's not rotating at all. Maybe
Right.
everything else is rotating around it. Like it's so many things that we cannot confirm either.
I think it's all designed to do what it's doing, confusing us,
Absolutely.
and we don't even want to
Absolutely.
think about it no more.
Absolutely.
Because we think, oh, they know it, they know science, but actually, when you
I
were
don't
looking
think-
into
I'm
it,
not saying
Denise,
they do.
when
I'm
you
just
were
saying-
when you were looking into it, Denise, if you went outside and started doing your own experiments, guess what? You are now a scientist.
Right. And so there's the other piece, right? The guy who wrote the book. It's like, well, what's his background? Like what
See, so here's the thing about the guy that wrote the book. This is not nothing new.
right, but I'm just
They've
saying
been talking about this
for
flat
him,
earth
for
thing
him.
since the beginning.
Right, but I'm
Way
talking
before. So all he's doing is regurgitating and adding new 200 proofs of reason why. There's even a 400 proofs, 1,000 proofs that they do.
That's
And
too many.
when you look
That's
at
too many.
Al-Juwaini, a Persian scientist back in the
You
day,
get to 1,000, you stretching.
that
a lot
they
of those
killed,
are
right?
stretching.
No, because there's so many things you can look at.
If you got 1,000 reasons for anything, there's a whole lot of stretching in there. I'm like, all right.
I just think there's
It's
so
a
many
lot of
things you can look
examples.
at.
1,000. If you told me to give you 1,000 reasons why I love my mama,
But
about
you know
300
why?
of them is gonna be
Right.
You
I
can
get
come up
that.
with
in there
it.
somewhere.
I get
You
that.
come
But
up
at the
with
same
it.
No,
time,
it's gonna be like,
at
all
the
right,
same
Q, you
time-
kind of said that. You stretching a little bit.
but at the same time, I could give you 10 good ones, and you'll still go, I need more proof than that.
Right. That ain't enough. That ain't
Yeah,
enough.
it'll never be enough. So that's
Shit,
why there's
by the time you
1,000 of
need
them, because
1,000, that
this is
means
so
you ain't-
old. They didn't start off with 1,000 proofs, but this concept is so old that now in 2022, there's 1,000 ways they could point it out.
I think this
Yeah,
Now, I want to ask Denise.
I see what Denise is asking. I'll let
Denise
Denise jump
a
to it,
question.
but I see what she's saying to where
I want to ask Denise a question.
everything that's being, you can ask her in a second. Let me speak.
Okay.
Everything that's being said, if you're not a scientist, if you haven't been outside of the Earth's atmosphere, if you haven't, like, all of these things, even if they sound good, stupid, intriguing, whatever, it's like so much that cannot be confirmed. Then it's like, what do you do with this information? But go ahead, ask Denise whatever you want to ask.
Did you see the concept of when they said the way we see? Like if you're in a hallway in a hotel,
like, no matter what angle you're at, it's still flat.
it looks like the roof is coming down, right? So when the sun goes out, we've been taught that it's because it's going down because it's actually going around the ball, but that's actually not true. There's even footage you can go pull up on YouTube of them flying in planes and showing that they follow it and it never goes around anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just going out of your sight of distance. And when they catch up to where that's at, it just keeps going. It keeps going. It keeps going. And then what they found out is it's actually going out in a big ass circle, like a clock. That's all it's doing. Now they've been having that argument since the beginning.
How is that different from rotating around the Earth or whatever?
Because imagine it, the Earth being a pancake, right? Just imagine it being a pancake, and you're up above it, and the butter ball on the pancake is the sun, right? And you're following it. It never goes around a ball. And then after a while, you start realizing, hey, man, we've been following this thing now for 5 days, let's say, right? And all it's doing, it's just going around in a big ass circle around this pancake.
It's just like this.
Yeah, that's all it's doing. So that it's going around like that. Just like if you get in your bicycle, if you get on your bike and you ride through your neighborhood around, you're not going to go around. There's never going to be a time you hit this curve, but you're going around like this, but not around in like a ball.
Got it. Going in a circle versus going around.
Right.
And
So that's what that was one of the real big arguments.
You know, when the sun is going away from us versus closer to us, it's like that long hallway in Poltergeist that gets longer and longer and longer and longer and further away, but it never dips down. Never does your horizon level ever lower. You can go above, you can below, but it's always going to stay there. It goes, it
Stays the same
disappears.
height.
It disappears because your eyes can only see so far. But like Smack said, if you ran up to it 20, 30 feet, it'd still be right there. It gets far enough away, it disappears. I run back up on it. Boom, there it is.
Yeah.
I'm not looking down ever. Never if I'm looking down to find it. It's always right there, eye level.
So the perspective of it is it looks like it's going down because the way we see to a point. Like they were showing, right? When you look out, you see to an actual point. So when to you, the sun looks like it's going down, but it's not. It's the same height it was. Like try this in the morning. If you get a good view, I don't know what the sun looks like out there in New York because y'all got all that smog and shit. But if you could see it, I know it looks like Gotham City all year round, that motherfucker. But like if you just get out there and watch the sun and go, okay, I'm gonna catch it early in the morning, the sunrise or the sun coming, and find out which direction, and you just watch it. And then come out later in the day when it's supposed to be sunsetting, you'll start to notice when you look at it, you go, oh shit, it is kind of curving to the right or something a little bit. And if you were able to follow that, it would keep curving around like a clock.
I just feel like most of the information that we get, one big old fat lie. All of it. Most of it.
And that's what helps back it too. That's what helps back it.
So
right.
For me, it's just I won't be surprised either way. I just wish that like even scientists are making guess and testing their theories, even them, right?
Look at the news reporters.
Or proven right or wrong at some point in time, right?
Look at the news reporters. When they said Kyrie Irving was being anti-Semitic, not one journalist said, no, that's not what was said. Here's the truth. None of them did that. They were on board of whatever the agenda was of the station or whatever they said, whatever they told them to read, that's what they did. We all witnessed this happen. We all watched Shaq do what we couldn't believe. We just watched LeBron do it. And we know deep down, that's not really how they feel about that. They knew they wanted to keep their job, and this is what you better say. Mm-hmm. You could tell just seeing that. That's why we really haven't even reprimanded them that bad, because we already know what that was. It's like, wow, and we all watched that in real time. I was just having this conversation with Toby. He was having an argument with this lady, and they were talking about how black men didn't get out and vote. It was only 70%. I said, hold up, man. I said, y'all just all watch this Kyrie, Kanye thing. You watch how they do this. You've seen the whole 9/11 shit, how they tried to make even those families look like they were crazy. You've seen this in multiple situations, right? How they paint the lie. Now, here it is in real time. I said, so you're going to get your information from the news?
The same people?
So you really don't know who voted for what. Even if we all showed up in record numbers to vote, are you really relying on them to tell you the truth when you just watched Kyrie Irving only post a link and they were actually saying he made a statement? Like, what? That's not what happened. And then they didn't go after Amazon. They didn't go after Adidas, who's backed by Nazis. They didn't do none of these things. So it's like the concept is weird. So when Minister Farrakhan started that speech off, just go back and watch the very beginning. And he starts to say it. He's talking about UFOs. Why is he talking about UFOs? I think he wanted to go into that conversation like, listen, y'all, what we dealing with right now, like Nikki said earlier, they programmed us to look for little green men.
Right.
I don't think they're little green men. They just might have green eyes. I don't know. But I don't think it's little green men.
I do want to speak to the whole black men didn't vote, blah blah, yak bullshit. Well, don't they have? Let's just from a presidential standpoint. Let's just talk about that for a second. Well, the people that they were telling us that the black people need to vote for are in office, and they're not doing much of anything. If anything, there has been things taken away from the black community, because I'm going to always speak to the HBCUs and how the money for the HBCUs was decreased, even though our vice president went to a HBCU and loved to throw that around when she
You mean the
went.
one we ain't seen since?
Right.
Chuck the pearls, Chuck the pearls, Chuck the pearls.
When you wanted to get the Black women to vote for you. So what I don't like and what I've been noticing lately is there's been a lot of Black men didn't da 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 bullshit, and we need to nip that in the bud, just across the board, because that is another thing that's used to be divisive. Because what I can
What's
see,
a control method? Because they really need our vote.
Right now,
You
y'all
know,
are
Asians
watching
have the
Herschel
lowest
Walker.
voting percentage than anybody, but ain't nobody talking about the Asians.
There's
Right.
no vote
but we
that's
don't even
ever
know if
got
those
a
numbers are
label
true.
except the only vote that has a label is the Black vote. There's no white vote. There's no Asian vote. There's no female vote. There's no male vote. There's no Jewish vote. Most of them don't even.
But that's not coming from Republicans. It's coming from the people who need our vote.
It's coming from the handlers who make you think that they need your vote.
Exactly.
They
That's
want
the
you to
game.
believe your
That's
vote
the
is
game.
so fucking important that if you don't vote, shame on you. And it in turns allows people to eat each other up because you didn't vote. This is your fault. Shame on you. It's all your fault. And it's like, wait
And
a
this goes
minute.
back to slavery. It goes back to slavery. When the slaves were voting on the big house, and I forget the name of the slave, but it's called the Mr. Johnson's Plantation.
You showed that on Black
he
TikTok.
said-
That was one of the craziest things I ever
He
saw.
said, okay, so you're gonna let us vote, but we can't vote you out your house because we would naturally do that. So we get to vote and have a say so, and then now we gotta hide the vote. Even the whole thing of hiding our vote, and you have people saying, well, that's my personal business who I voted for. Why? Why is it your personal business now? Say who it is so we know how to get on one accord. Because guess who will gonna say who they gonna vote for? They all gonna come together and say who they doing it. But here's the thing. They make us feel like, and just like she said, that way we turn against. So the people that don't want to vote, the blacks that don't want to vote because they figured out the game, the other blacks that haven't quite figured out the game because they got the hope of maybe we could change it. Now we're battling each other instead of looking at the big house plantation going, there's no way Master designed this for you to vote him out the big house. There's the electoral college vote right there. So, and then at the end of the day, you still got to leave it up to them to tell you what the numbers are. If they're already lying to you about all these other things,
how is voting?
How are they going to tell you the truth now?
Right.
Can I say this too? There's a couple of things I want to get into. The fact that it's 2022 and voting is so antiquated. I should be able to vote on my motherfucking phone if I wanted to.
Exactly.
But if I did want to, I should be able to do it on my phone. Now,
the mere fact
because if they can ban Nikki off of Facebook and don't even let her use no other devices, she can't even use her daughter device. And
you should be able to cast a pretty healthy vote if you need to by way of phone.
And ain't nobody, they can do it without you voting 3 or 4 times.
Walker, who sound like the dude from Fat Albert, he's actually winning. And the other dude had Barack Obama, who everybody loves, come out 3 times at his rallies. He's still beating him. How, fam?
Right.
How?
I'm gonna tell you how, because I keep blocking.
It's because they selected him to do it.
Let me tell you,
they're gonna totally control him.
I keep blocking Herschel Walker, and he still finds a new number to text me from every week. That's how.
Girl, Beto is texting me 4-5 times a day. I'm so glad this shit's over my phone and went back to super dry. I'm like,
but think about it.
I was getting texts from
go look at
Texas
videos,
and Illinois.
If you go look at them videos of them white people standing out there looking at Herschel Walker talk, and I'm like, wait a minute. I know these white folks ain't vote for this dude, man.
Yeah.
Oh no, they party loyal. If
but
the party
have you watched one of his speeches? Though?
It don't listen with the this is the Republic. It do not matter. Whoever that the Republicans put and say this is who's representing us.
No, I know.
They lockstep.
That's who they're picking to win. What I'm saying is, it's so obvious now that they're picking him to win. That's why he's winning. It's not because of any actual numbers or anything. Because who's the people counting the numbers? Why are they stealing? Why are they still sending voting machines that are broke in 2022 somewhere? Like Denise said, you should be able to do it from your phone. If they already got your email, hey, here's your email. Just like when you file your taxes, you don't have to go nowhere. You can do that shit right now. Okay, when you file your taxes, okay, place your vote. Same way. See?
Okay, so let me ask a question before we move totally away from the topic, and we a little bit past time, but we right at time. So, do you feel, and this is for Nikki and Smack, do you feel inspired to enlighten others concerning flat Earth? Is it, to me, that's what I believe, I don't care, or do you feel do you feel a need or urging to enlighten others?
Yeah, I play it forward because the way the monk did me, that opened my eyes to not just flat Earth, that was just the gateway to so many other things.
Yeah.
It changed my way of thinking. It changed my way of perspective of looking at all kinds of things because I never thought about that before. And so as time went on, I was able to see a lot of other things because of that. So what I do is I don't like to preach it because usually when you bring it up to somebody, they haven't studied it, and most of their response is to say it's stupid. And I just say, well, look, you're going to have to research it just like I did. There's no other way around it. But once you see it, once you go look at the moon landing, you look at all these different things, there's no way you can't unsee it. You can't unsee it anymore. Now, is it going to make my bills less or my way of life? No, not really. But it still helps me in so many other ways because, like I said, because I can see that magic trick, I don't fall for other magic, the simple shit no more.
So that is one thing that I do get because I've been thinking about doing a segment. I still haven't figured out what to name it, but basically, I'm imaginarily acting as president.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm going to do, it's just going to be 5 to 10 minute little snips of things I would immediately change if I were president. And one of the first things I keep talking about is I'm going to reconfigure the alphabet. I'm going to get rid of certain letters. The C and the K, both of them are not necessary. Get rid of one of them. There's certain, it's about 3 or 4 or 5 letters that you can get rid of. What'd you say, Denise?
Why?
Thank you. I'm glad you asked. So the reason that I say that is the same reason that Smack is talking about. From an early age, just like Cat Williams talked about, a knife. Like, what? Why is this a K in front? If the word is knife, why is it a K in front of it? And as a small child, just because it is.
Right.
And we learn at an early age, go along with it. It don't have to make sense, but if we tell you that that's what it is, just go along with it anyway. So my whole mindset is to break away from the just go along with it because we said so mindset. Let us start pulling away some of these things that don't make sense. They should need to make sense for us to follow along with it. And it's something as simple as the alphabet. Okay, yeah, I know a lot of letters and pronunciations come from different origins and backgrounds, and that's why they have different. I don't care. We live in America. If it don't make sense to the way that we speak it, then we need to change the way we do certain things. And that's just one of many things. Like, there's so many things like, well, why is this on? You know, in certain states, it's illegal for you to have a dildo, like to transport it in the car. Like there's certain things that it's crazy and it makes no sense.
Yeah.
But do we fight? We don't fight those things. Well, that's just what the law says. It's like, no, let's do away with all of. First of all, if I was president, I would have a whole task team to go through every law all the way down. If it don't make sense, then we need to rewrite it, do away with it, do something else. Stop leaving stuff on the books that don't make sense. I'm sure there's probably still, I bet you there's still laws in certain states that forbid or probably fine you or something if you date interracially or something like that. I mean, it's a bunch of, you'll be so surprised about how much stupid stuff is still on the books and we don't combat it. Yeah, anyway, so that's the part that I got with Smack was saying. That's all I was saying. Nikki, let me ask you real quick, Nikki. Do you feel
I'll answer
inspired
those
to
questions.
enlighten?
Okay.
Do you feel inspired to enlighten others?
I do when it's met by the right person. I do not have this conversation with everybody. You know, just like I don't have the conversation about religion with everybody. There's just some conversations I personally am not going to have with everybody because there's a lot of energy and a lot of emotion and a lot of there's just a lot of energy that goes behind subscribing to belief systems that are not the norm, right?
Right.
And so for me, I love to have the conversation with people, but I do not love to be met with an ignorant mind. That's not an energy I like to tangle with. So I personally don't. Now, if you go and do exactly what Denise just did, clicked on play and watched even 15 minutes of an hour and a half documentary, she gave it some of her time, some of her energy to go and just scratch the fucking surface of let me just see what these people talking about instead of just endlessly shutting down. On that aspect, I'm more than happy to have a conversation because I do understand what Denise said. Because Denise, and I don't know if you heard me when I started this whole conversation before you got on, the words and the verbiage and the science and all of these things was a barrier for me. Because I didn't understand those things. It must have meant I was too stupid to make it make sense. How could I question things that didn't make sense? But then in turn, the powers that be, the school system, gives us this language that makes things fucking impossible to understand. And it literally made me question I didn't realize until the last maybe 6-7 years of my life, it's all that made me question and squash my logical thinking at a very young age. So they use these calculations and all these things that I don't fucking understand. I can make cakes and shit. I don't do that other stuff. But I don't need that to understand what logic is. So for that, I don't engage in that conversation with everybody, but it is inspiring to me to come across somebody who will entertain the possibility that there could be more to this than just y'all are fucking crazy. Y'all are just Looney Tunes. How could you possibly think like this? And with that, it then becomes a little more engaging and a little more exciting when you get into a conversation with somebody who's like, you know, I did see they said something about this and it made me raise my eyebrow. Because generally it's not fun.
Smack said a few things it was either last week or a week before. He just brushed over a few things on. Interesting.
And that's, you know, and I feel like at this point,
that's a good thought.
I feel like this point in 2023, shouldn't we be asking questions? And I know that a lot of people feel like even if I have the answers, it's not going to change my life today. Even if they tell us that the earth is flat and it's not around, how does that change my life today? It may not. Right. But what has happened for me, and I'm pretty safe to say most people who do believe that earth is no longer a ball and some of the other theories that we believe in, is it does change how you operate. It does change how you feel. It does change how you think about things. It does change things because you look at life through a different lens. You don't look at the lens that the schoolhouse gave us. You don't look through the lens of indoctrination. You look through the lens of, no, I don't even know if any of this shit is true. And then like I asked Denise earlier in conversation, you may not care and it may not change anything, but naturally the human in you is gonna start asking, well, why? Just don't fucking make sense. And even if there is no answer to the question of why, then why lie? What's the whole point?
See, Nikki, Nikki, that's why I don't have to get into all of that stuff that you're talking about, because I actually subscribe back to what you said either a week or two ago. They all lie. That's all I need to know.
Right.
It's like, hey, they lie.
Right. They all lie.
Like, okay,
They lie.
it's round flat. It might be square. Whatever they lie, whatever it is, whatever they telling you it is, it's probably something different. So
Well,
they
and
lie.
Hugh, you had asked a question in the beginning, and Smack answered. I didn't get a chance to respond.
Sure.
You asked kind of like, what would the purpose be, right? Like why would they be lying to us about, flat
Right.
versus round? And we talked about resources, a lot of other things, but you also have to think about how much money, and we know everything revolves around money, how much money is invested in space and space technology. How much, because right when the moon landing supposedly happened, NASA was created. How fucking perfect. So now all of a sudden NASA's created, and they are the accountants per se of all things related to the dollars going in to NASA. We're talking about billions of dollars a day are funneled through NASA to support space and Earth and satellites. My kid's dad and I were talking about some flat Earth stuff last night. He goes, the only reason telescopes were even designed was to try to find the firmament. And I was like, damn, hadn't really considered that, because telescopes don't show us many pictures of anything in space. Nothing. And at moving 1,000 miles an hour, how the fuck can they see anything, right? But it's just so like I said in the beginning, you slowly peel the lid back, and you can just keep going and going and going. But it's money. It's money control its power. If they can control the people, they control the people. And so much money is invested in the science, the aeronauticals, just everything related to the
So
space
I got one
industry.
more question. So I got one more question. I got your answer about somebody who took the jab. But would you date someone who's a round earther?
I would be open to dating somebody who is a round earther, as long as they were not convicted in that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they would have to be one of those people who is forward thinking. But that's on everything. I can't be with somebody who's a closed-minded thinker, just period. So do they have to believe in the same things I believe in per se? No. But it'd be nice. It'd make it a lot fucking easier if they did. No, I could probably date a Glober versus a Vaxxer.
Hey,
But
if they do take the jab, that's it.
that's a no. That's a no. But honestly, most people who believe in flat Earth also don't support the jab. Because the information is out there that says there is more truth to
So
what is being told.
So it sounds like, because the jab ain't got nothing to do with how round or flat the earth is.
No.
So it sounds like you are just anti-establishment.
I'm very anti-establishment. But if you didn't know that was a word, I don't know what you would call it. But I'm
just saying, when you said most of the people who are flat earthers are also against the jab, then it also sounds like
I guess I shouldn't say most. I shouldn't say most, but there's a lot. But there's also a lot of anti-vaxxers who totally think I'm a lunatic for thinking that the earth is flat and not a ball. But it also goes back to, how far down the rabbit hole have you gone? Are you just coming into this world of exploring conspiracy theories?
So now this is where I'm kind of like, I'm like, well, I'm not, I don't know if I'm like Denise on this or not, but even some of the stuff Denise was saying, it made me think. It's like, so if you are anti-establishment, and we are in the presence of tons and tons of unconfirmable information, it's very easy to go the opposite way of what they're telling, because what the government or what the establishment says, it can't be confirmed. What flat earthers say, in my opinion, can't be confirmed either. It's easy to go whatever way that you want to when neither side can really be confirmed.
Well, but a lot of sides on flat Earth can be confirmed. Now everything, no, because we can't go get
okay. Let me tell you why I can't be
you
confirmed.
and I can't go get in my spaceship and go up like 30,000 feet.
I know, but somebody, hey.
But there are people that have sent their own personal rockets up.
I know, era of the smartphone. Show me a picture when the rocket went up.
Exactly.
Show me what it looks like on the other side of the outer wall. Somebody take their cell phone and walk over there and get, like, with all these millionaires and billionaires, ain't nobody went to the outer side and show me a video. But I'm talking about
but let me explain a little bit of that. There's an Antarctic treaty. The Antarctic Treaty was designed. You cannot go. There's only a certain distance within the Antarctic that you can go. It is illegal. All of the United Nations have got together and said you can only go so far. Past a certain point, you cannot go.
But Nikki, listen to this, Nikki.
I'm just saying, for exploration
I got what
purposes,
you're saying. I know, but listen, I can name 1,000 things that are illegal that people still do or find a way to do.
Yeah, but you
mean to tell me that not one person said, F your treaty, F your rules. I'm going over there. I'm taking my smartphone and I'm going over there and taking pictures and taking video and showing people what it looked like on the other side. Not one person.
Not when we're talking about one of the world's possible greatest fucking lies and deceptions. They got that bitch locked down like Fort Knox. We not just gonna walk over there on this ice.
Okay, that's another one of my things. That's just like that's the whole Donald Trump talking about I'm gonna build a wall. You gonna build a wall across the whole Mexico Strip? It's too much land for you to monitor that entire space. And you talking about a globe going around? Forgive me for saying globe, okay? The whole land, and we like all of this space. They can't monitor all of that. And there's still somebody be like, man, F it. I'm about to get over the side of this. I got to show somebody what this weird bird look like that ain't nobody. There has to be a piece of evidence somewhere that somebody left to create it.
Admiral Byrd went. And Admiral Byrd, B-Y-R-D.
I'm not saying I don't believe it, but I'm saying
very few people that's ever been able to explore. You just can't go there. Why can't we go there? Why can't we go there? Why is there an Antarctic treaty that says you can't go there? You're a science explorer. Like, why can't we go there?
It's unacceptable to say somebody just can't go there.
Look it up.
In 2020. No, I got that. And I saw the piece that Smack posted that on Black Tea Talk a year or two ago about the Admiral Byrd, and I watched that too. And even I give more of a pass on that because of the time that they were in.
Right.
In 2022, I can't give that a pass. You got to show me a picture. I need a picture or a video or something.
But why would they do that? Why would they let that happen? If they let that happen, what happens next?
I'm not saying that to say that it's incorrect.
Right.
But I'm saying for me to believe it in 2022, show me some proof.
But for how many decades did they say that UFOs didn't exist and that all people who believe in UFOs are just crazy fucking lunatics? They were all weather balloons and so on. And now all of a sudden, our
one of the things Neil deGrasse Tyson talk
documents.
about too. He like, yo, out of all these years, you keep having these sketch drawings of this. Show me a picture. Show me the picture of the alien.
But they denied.
Grab
People had proof. People had pictures. People had operations. They had implants in their bodies that doctors couldn't explain. People had proof that there were abductions. People had proof that there were UFOs. People had proof, and they were washed off as crazy. And now our government is saying, "Oh, yeah,
back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s." But nowadays, when you are abducted, take your phone and take a picture.
You know, technology don't work on them spaceships like that. It's
you can't go live. You can't go live, but you can still snap it and bring it back.
Generally, there's interference with your electronic devices to where they don't work.
Oh, no matter. You can snap a picture no matter what.
If your phone don't even work.
If the phone don't work, it's not connected. It don't have a signal. It's not connected to a network anyway. You can still take a picture.
You know good goddamn well If yo
I got so many disconnected phones all over the place, and I can still take a picture with them.
Because you don't have something pulling an electromagnetic interference with your device.
Nikki, can y'all hear me?
I got this phone. This don't even take no picture.
You got a Pronto phone?
It's an old Motorola Nextel. I'm telling you, I got all this stuff. All of these, I can take all of these phones and all of them. I can still, they don't work. They ain't worked in 10 years, and I can turn it on and take a picture with it right now.
But you couldn't if there was interference blocking that phone from doing just that.
Okay.
Stokely, you haven't Stokely joined us late. You had a question, Stokely.
No, I just wanted to say something. So we're talking about all these conspiracies and all this crazy lore and all this. I say crazy, and excuse me if I'm out of line.
Yeah, they get offended by that.
You know,
Don't say that. That's a trigger word, Stokely.
I have a frat brother that was talking to the flat Earth thing. One of my frat brothers was bringing it to my attention, and like you, I asked. I said, "Well, surely somebody's got a picture of the edge where shit will fall off." And he was like, "No, there's no pictures." And I was like, "Well, why not?" See, that to me would be some proof. It's the same thing with Bigfoot. Everybody talking about that it's seen Bigfoot, but ain't no interference out there in the woods and shit. You're not getting the signal or whatever. But I ain't seen no real pictures of Bigfoot either. So, excuse me again if my feelings on some of this stuff is just outrageous.
Well, you believe what you've been taught. You believe what you've been taught, as we were all taught the same thing. We were all taught the same thing. And that's that was me answering my question to Q is
but
that
Nikki, it's not even that I believe what I've been taught, because I don't look just because they tell me that, then I don't mean I'm rocking with it either. Now, if there's certain things, it's not that I believe it or don't believe it, but it's certain things that even things that's presented to me, until you give me a reason not to believe it, then I might say something. But until this point, you tell me the earth, like, unless I know the motive behind what you're doing, so such and such and such, if I don't have a reason not to believe it, then it's like, okay, I'll accept it. But me accepting it don't mean that I believe it. It's just like, all right, well, if that's what you say, then fine. I don't have a reason to go another way. Give me a reason to look in a different direction. And to this point, it's not that I believe it. I accept it because that's a general truth by people who study that. And the people who disagree with it have not yet shown me a reason to disagree with what they're saying.
Or have reasons to possibly start questioning been presented to you, but that's not what you wholeheartedly think is possible. So some of those things are dismissed.
It just has to be something. Like I said, I agree with you when you say they lie. So it's like that's the baseline of.
That's a great place to start.
Right. So that's my baseline right there. So I'm always open because they do lie.
Right.
So, but even with that, like I said, everybody has their own criteria. I guess me as someone who's benign or in the middle or whatever, it's not. If I don't have a reason to search for it, then someone has to give me reason or evidence to search or to say, hey, this is not making sense. Let me look more into this. And up until this point, like I said, number one, I'm not searching, but number two, there has not been, as far as my criteria, what I would need is it hasn't been shown to make. Like I said, in today's society, give me video, give me some pictures, show me some stuff that what you're talking about. Now, there was something that was interesting to me, and Smack put this up on Black Tea Talk a while ago, where someone shot like some rocket up into the atmosphere, and it hit the top. And I was like, yo, what was that about?
And it sounded like a toilet flushing.
Right. So I was like, now it wasn't completely clear to where I could make out exactly what was going on, but I was like, and
it hit something.
Hold on, let me say this too. Let me say this too. My favorite Black Tea Talk. My favorite Black Tea Talk when Smack was talking about when William Shatner and Jeff Bezos, they took him up
Right.
into space.
Oh
and
my
all.
God.
That was so funny because I was like, oh yeah, they so fraud. He went up into space and then on their way down, they were able to find him within 30 seconds and they already had in the middle of the desert or wherever they were. Then the cars and the crews and the camera was already in place to know exactly where they was going to drop and all
How
this.
about that?
It
How
was
about
pure.
that?
That was the hardest I've ever laughed watching Black Tea Talk in my life. It was hilarious.
That was funny. Because William Shatner was definitely putting extra sauce on it.
Girl, it was
He was trying.
fucking ridiculous. It was like, are you making another movie right now? Like, this has to
He
be a
was
movie
trying
set.
to. He was trying to get his $1 million moment. He said, "This is the monologue of all ages. This is the monologue of my lifetime."
Well,
I ain't seen that one.
That was when the president of Virgin Records made his little airplane, and he went up there outside of the Earth's atmosphere. They took pictures and video inside the plane, and kind of back to Denise's point, they make things so scientific and so difficult to understand and so fucking over my head, blah 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 blah. But it's like, I grew up thinking that in order to be an astronaut, like, you had to be one of the smartest fucking people on this planet to ever even think about getting a shot to be an astronaut. You had to go train for 6 months and anti-gravity and blah, blah, all this shit. It was like, man, wow. So you got Bezos going up there in his little fucking plane. You got the Virgin Records CEO going up there. And so they're taking pictures. There's no helmets. There's no like anti-gravity shit. They're like in a fucking 737 just taking pictures going up above the Earth's atmosphere. And I'm like,
it was bad. And they tried to hype it up.
Challenger. That's not what that looked like growing up to me.
They tried to hype it up like it was big. I'm like, man, y'all.
So
y'all went 1,000 feet higher than what an airplane do, and then you said we was in outer space.
But you got to think. So something as corny as that, right? From the stories that we were given to the shit like that they present to us today. That shit don't even fucking seem the same.
But what I'm saying is, I can believe they're lying and still. I can believe they're lying up to a certain point, but that doesn't mean that I believe that everything is a lie. So for instance, them when they said they went to the moon, looking at that interview, I don't believe that. And then people break down the video and everything, how they're bouncing around. I don't believe it. But what I can believe, that don't mean I don't believe in the moon. I don't believe in outer space.
Right. Sure.
I believe that they're trying to keep up with the Russians, and they did not have the technology to do that, so they staged some stuff. Mm-hmm. Now, just because they staged it and they lied to all of us, that doesn't mean that those things don't exist. But they still can be two things at once.
They got to keep that lie going, though.
They definitely lied. In my opinion, they definitely lied. But just because they lied, that don't mean I throw away the solar system don't exist, the planets don't exist. That doesn't necessarily mean that. I would need a different level of proof to disregard that.
Well, this is why I posted the video that I posted, because I personally think it's a very simple video. Outside of the terminologies and things like that be confusing, it really does break down 200 kind of quick ways that you can start to, if you're interested in,
I might start watching that while there's certain things I listen to while I'm sleeping.
When you're trying to connect some of the dots, it's like, damn, these are just some interesting points to consider. I mean, and there's a slew of flat Earth documentaries out there. Eric Dubé also has a movie called Level, and it's fucking phenomenal. And it's I think it's on IMDb.
What y'all should do? This is what you and Smack should do. Do a quick video and call it Flat Earth for Dummies. Just like the book, how the book had this and this for dummies, Flat Earth for just some basic facts that make you raise your eyebrow and be like, okay, like to spark the intrigue. Because I don't need 200 reasons yet. Give me about 5 to 10 good reasons to make.
He has a video that's 10 reasons. He's got a video that's 10 and 20 reasons, and so they're much shorter. They're much more condensed. And again, these are just these aren't even hypotheses. These are proofs. Like, these are literally things that you can't contradict, the certain examples that are given that would dispel that there is a round math equation in trying to describe what our planet's shape is. Right. And for me, for me, really, that's kind of where it stops for me. Like, I personally don't need to see ice pictures, and I don't need to see that there's dinosaurs or not. Like, I don't need to see all. It'd be cool to see that shit. Just
Let me ask you a
I'm
question.
right, but I don't need to see them because other parts simply do not add up.
Let me ask you a question. And I don't even know if you can project this, but say me and Denise, we got along to it, and we converted. We started believing in flat Earth. We got,
I would die if you converted.
We got turned out. In your opinion, in your observation, or just, I mean, how do you think it will change us, if at all?
I think it would make you then question everything that you thought you believed in. And they don't want you to do that. They want you to stay programmable.
You don't think I already do? You don't think I already do?
I think that you do to a certain, I think that you do to a certain extent, but I think that there are parts that no, you don't.
Okay.
I think that there are parts that no, you don't. But I also know that over the damn near 10 years that I've known you, your brain has absolutely gone past the bounds that the 10 years ago Q brain went past. So that does not mean that we're not constantly evolving. Right. But I think that it would make you question everything that you firmly believed in, and that doesn't always feel so great. That's the part for me that makes me sad sometimes, is the reality versus the illusion that they give us.
Okay.
You almost can't come to the belief that Earth is not a ball and still believe in the concepts in which you were born into: religion, politics, the validity of systems and beliefs that we held really true because of the things that we were taught. It just makes you question everything.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you get this, but I question religion all the time. Me and my sister, we just did a 6-part series about religion.
I've been watching some of those.
I mean, that's all it was questioning it. So
but you still believe it, though. But you still believe.
But I don't believe it because of the religion. I believe it because of the experience.
But would those experiences have a name on them if you didn't have religion? Would that literally just be an experiential awakening or connection to? Because it can be, because you can put your finger on it as spirit or God or whatever, because you can put because this is the language that's been taught to you. So right. you know how to classify those things.
I'm gonna do this one day. This I so dearly equate this to a martial art. I've said this many times before, and I'm gonna kind of put something together about that. It's just like doing karate. Karate works. It's designed for self-defense. It's designed to protect yourself. There's certain things that teach you how to attack, but the practice of karate in itself is incomplete. And if somebody came and told you, see, there's certain religious people who only do karate, and then the moment somebody says, "Hey, it's this thing called Taekwondo," it's a little bit more advanced than what you see right here. Nope, just karate. I'm only gonna punch like this. I'm like, yeah, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm not gonna do anything else. They're limiting themselves from an expanded art form of martial art or fighting or self-defense, whatever you want to call it. Now, that's the same thing with religion. I never limit myself. I say there are other art forms and there's other ways to accomplish the goal. Now, with that being said, for that person who only practices a certain thing, does it work? Yes, it does. You can knock somebody out using karate. So that art form does have power. It does have efficiency. It does have relevance. But that's not all that it is. And that's the way that I look at religion or Christianity. It does have power. It does have effectiveness, But that doesn't mean that's the only thing that it is. There's other ways. And if you learn how to incorporate other things that's outside of karate, you might be more effective. Some people choose not to do it. But for myself, I'm like, I'm open. Okay. Oh, eye gouging? Will that get them off you? Oh, yeah, I'm a guy. I'm a gouge your eyes. Shooting somebody? Oh, that ain't got nothing to do with karate. But yeah, if it worked, then I'm gonna do that. And some people say, nope, that's the only thing I'm gonna do. And so I'm trying to make a correlation between religion and just an art, because that's what it is. It's a practice.
Right.
And some people are only stuck in a certain way that they practice things, and I'm not stuck in that way. Right. I'm like, yeah, I acknowledge this practice because I know it does work. It does have power. It can knock you out, and I can defend myself from it. But I don't only subscribe to that because I know that there's other ways that's also effective. And if you learn how to use all of it, then you'll be a more well-rounded fighter and defender of yourself. Like, okay, I think you got what I'm saying.
It does make sense, and I understand that. It just, and I guess maybe my perspective on it is just simply different, because I come from a place where I and I told this to you a long time ago, like, it's in your bones, it's who you are, right? And that's because of where you come from.
I know for a fact, there's no question in my mind. I know that it does carry power,
right?
So it's not possible for me to disregard it because I've seen the power. I've experienced it in real time, not what somebody's telling me. These are things I've personally experienced and I've personally witnessed. So there's certain things. It's not that somebody just told me this and I'm so ingrained in believing this based off of what somebody told me. No, it's a difference between somebody telling you something versus something that you personally experienced and you personally witnessed. And those two things, those are two things that can never be taken from you. And there's a lot of people who have not experienced the things that I've experienced. Like I said, I've seen people who couldn't talk their whole lives bust out talking. I've seen demon possessed people who, were put back in their right mind from. I've seen people who were possessed by demons. And then a person after they knew how to call the demon out by name. And the person, when they wouldn't respond to anything that they were saying, when they spoke to the demon and said, hey, I'm not going to repeat the name because I remember it like the back of my head. Such and such come out. Then they came out. I was like, ooh, shit. So all I'm saying is
possessions
there's
happen?
certain experience. So and let me go back to this. Am I saying that that's the only way, or Christianity or whatever I'm talking about is the only way that you can be delivered? I'm not saying that. But I'm saying through this mechanism, I've seen things work. So I would never discredit it completely because I've experienced and I've seen it.
See, and I feel like we have had probably some similar life experiences where those aha moments or those significant fucking moments that maybe you might attribute to one thing, I attribute to something totally different. But in essence, the experience of something that is unexplainable happened. Mm-hmm. So right. my point in saying that our perspectives may be different because you come from a place where this is something that you are knowledgeable about. I come from a place where there was never a discussion about feet. Never was it discussed that it could be anything other than we'll address it if it happens, right? So like when these magical moments or when these moments take place where some greater power, some force, some higher power, something fucking happened. Something fucking happened here.
Right.
For me, coming from a place where the language was not, this is the answer, there is an alternative response to what this could be.
Right.
Whereas your experience is,
right.
There may not necessarily be an alternative because this is just what we call this.
So the difference between a religious minded person, you can speak to an experience and they'd be like, oh, that's not really what it was. It couldn't have been.
Right.
Because it can only come this way.
Right.
And I can look at you and say, oh, yeah, I believe that.
Right.
I can believe that these things can come through this way, and also they can come through that way as well. There's no one way that these things can come through.
And that, for me, as a non-believer, would make it a very fair playing field. If that was actually what more people who did believe in religion subscribed to.
And I'll be honest, not a lot of people do.
No, they don't. And that's one of the things I've always appreciated about you. And that's why I listen to you when you talk about a lot of the things that you do, because I've seen you not even change, because I don't think you've necessarily changed what you believe in, but how you believe is different. And how you receive information, how you put that information back out. You know, from not thinking that 9/11 was an inside job to possibly thinking that motherfucker was an inside job. Like,
I don't think it was no inside job.
And those are not places that most people come to if they are just by the book, subscribing to, believing in what they're always told. And you don't always believe what you're told. But for me,
listen, I agree. They all lie. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. And whether it's the government, the church, just people in society,
and they're all involved for the control of power.
There's lies. You got to decipher. You got to use your inner self to decipher what's real and what's not.
But see, that's just it. And you just said it. A lot of religious people might not necessarily believe like that, right? Yeah. And so when you have people, a majority of our planet, whether that motherfucker's round or flat or square or triangle, when you have a majority of our planet subscribing to the thoughts that there is no other way, that there is nothing outside of this, it makes a really closed-minded society. So to not have those confines or those bounds or those shackles or that indoctrination or whatever the case may be, you then start to question all these other things that you thought you believed in. Once you start to believe in something so fucking crazy that the world might not be a ball.
Well, that's because I'm a free thinker.
Well, I mean, yeah, you know, but it's funny because even people have said, how can you be a free thinker, but you subscribe to.
I know, I did get that.
You subscribe to religion.
That's a part. Thank you for that. That's a part of that, because I can be a free thinker, and part of being, part of being a free thinker is, number one, acknowledging your biases.
True.
And number two, this isn't for everybody, but for me, I think, free thinking isn't just about logic and science. There's a whole other realm that we know very little about.
Right.
There's a spiritual realm. There is intuition. There's a whole lot of things that can't be quantified by a series of scientific facts.
Agree.
And for those people who only subscribe to those things, in my opinion, you are limited. If you don't acknowledge that there's another realm outside of just science and logic.
Right.
So that's my thought. If so even with that, there's going to be things I believe that I can't prove, that I can't give you a scientific reason for, just like you have it. And just like Smack said, it was just something in me that this connected with me. And I wasn't like, oh, so you really can't prove it. I'm like, no, there is something inside of yourself that your truth will connect with what you hear. When it hears the right thing, your being, your soul will connect with it. It's like love. It's like a lot of things. If somebody listen, let me tell you this. If somebody, I hate, this is one question that I hate. When if you ever been in a relationship and somebody say I love, well, why do you love me?
Right.
And one of the things I say, I like, I could give you reasons, but if the reasons is all I can give you, then it won't equate. Love goes beyond reasons. I can try to explain 10, 15 different reasons why I love you, but it still has to go beyond that, because love is something that goes beyond logic. So it's not even designed for me to be able to give you reasons. I can give an attempt to explain why I love you, but ultimately that what you're asking for has no definitive definition. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but
Well,
anyway.
we talked. So last week we talked. I think it was last week we talked about intelligence. Denise had posed the question about intelligence and acquiring
Right.
intelligence and shit like that. And I think your baseline was the desire or the ability to be curious or have curiosity or to be interested in. And I think that when we as young children are indoctrinated by all of the sources in which we're indoctrinated, be it religion, be it education, be it whatever. Because I do believe all of those things are indoctrination. Those are things that are taught into us.
Right. True.
That we did not come into them. They were taught to us.
True.
That when we as young children are indoctrinated with these things, it does, whether it's temporarily or permanently, kills off the curious nature within us, the inquisitive parts within us that may ask the questions that are like, how can the people standing over here in China be fucking upside down? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. And for me, it sounds so simple, but it really is just that simple. So I guess for me, the flat earth thing isn't even just exclusively flat earth. It's unlearning what we've been taught.
I got you.
And that gets to be, that's a weird place to go against the grain of all the things that you've been taught and told.
Let me say this. So even based off of what I hear you saying, my thought that comes to that is, before you become a flat earther or whatever you call it, the first thing that you should do is become a round earther. See, because the round earther is the indoctrination that's been taught to you.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do anything, unlearn all of it first. Don't hold on to something that you don't even have proof over. Unlearn everything first. Start from scratch, and then you build your mindset based off of what you receive from that point. But you can't build off of it from a mindset of, oh, I know the earth is round. No, you don't know the earth is round. You don't know that. You've been taught that. You've been told that. Unlearn everything first. And I guess that's the thing for me is I put away everything first. I think I did. Maybe I gotta check on that. I don't know. But even when I'm talking about religion and stuff like that, I unlearned everything, and I'm like, I don't know if God is what y'all say God is. I don't know if this Christianity thing, I don't know if the Bible is, and I kind of broke everything down. And there's certain things, like most Christians believe that the Bible is infallible, meaning that every jot, tittle, everything is absolutely inspired by God. And I don't believe that. Me personally, I don't believe it. But I had to step away from all of it first and then rebuild and say, yes, I believe this. Yes, I believe this. No, I don't believe that. And no, I think that was kind of man did that thing and this and this and that. But I had to break everything down and then decide what still remained in my conscience to roll with it.
I think, you know what I think there's multiple ways to do it. I think you can just say, I'm not going to believe either thing, and then I'm going to just start researching. And I think, like, you know, for me, like with my relationship with God, I was just like, yeah, okay, so I need to see if this thing's going to work for me. And I just test the theory. I'm not going to say it ain't going to work or it is going to work, but I'm about to test this theory because right now I'm not really believing in anything. So let's test this theory. If you're real, okay, well, you got to show me something real simple, you know? And so you got to show me something.
Because Gideon did that. Gideon did that. But it's like, yo, if this is you, then, you know, anyway, that's a long story. Make the fleece dry and make the ground wet. Make the ground wet, make the fleece dry. Just show me a sign. That's all he was saying. Show me a sign. Yeah. Show them sign. He's like, all right, okay, cool.
So I think you should stay curious, whether you believe it's flat or round, or if you believe in vaccinations or don't believe in vaccinations. You should just always be seeking knowledge and seeking proof. And if someone tells you something, whether it's in a book or in a video or whatever, the thing that changed my life is whenever I was in a Western civilization class and I went to HBCU, and ironically, my professor's name was Miss White, and she was the first crazy, right? When she was a white lady, and she was the first person that ever showed me something in a history book and said, "This is not true."
Shout out to her.
She pointed out the Moors and she pointed out all these different people, and she said, "Look at their features. What do they look like to you? Do they look like Asian people to you? Or do they look like Black people to you? Look at the curls in their hair. Look at their noses. Look at their features. What does that look like to you?" She said, just because it's in a book doesn't mean that it's a fact. Because then you have to ask yourself, well, who wrote this book?
Mm-hmm.
And what is their background and what do they think and what is their purpose? Just because it's in the book doesn't make it a fact. And I just never thought to question that before, especially a textbook, right? I mean,
right.
My first initial question that we all had was,
how could we question something so infallible as our history books?
Right.
Yep.
No,
what do you mean?
The first question that we've all had was the whole Christopher Columbus thing. We were like, hold on. If you're anybody that has any kind of anything, I'm sure like pretty much anybody who's in this group, when they got to that section in the book, raised their hand and asked their teacher, hold on.
How could he have discovered a place that was already here and inhibited by other people?
Right. I had that question when I was 6 years old. I'm like, what?
But they won't let you ask. They won't let you talk about it. They just make you believe what they want you to believe.
And that was the first question. So I think it's imperative that we're always asking questions. And I think it's also really, really, really imperative to start really asking questions when you notice there's a big divide. And there's never, if there's a topic where there's a big divide and there's no room for gray area, you have to be very cognizant of that. And I'm going to tell you this. Now, let's remember now where we are with the CDC, right? Where it's like, yeah, it doesn't fucking matter. You know, vaccination pretty much, right? But remember at a point in time where it was such a big deal, or people were being called names like an anti-vaxxer, like because they did not.
Something would have been let me come to his goddamn house for dinner. What you talking about?
You know what I mean? But do y'all remember how divisive that time was? Like, do y'all remember?
Hello.
You couldn't walk outside without a mask on. People cussing you out, driving out you. Put on a mask, you motherfucker.
And you were the reason for the spread. It's all your fault. You're the reason people are dying.
That was the first
Wait
thing.
a
Hold
fucking
on.
minute.
You
Are
mean to tell me
serious?
I can be vaccinated and still get it? I'm like, that's not a vaccine. That's not a
and
vaccine.
And by definition, scientifically, it is not a vaccine. It is
That's why I was like, stop calling it a vaccine if you can still get it. And not only that, they even when I went to California, certain places like you got to be vaccinated in order to come in. I'm like, I can still get it and I can still spread it. Like, why are you trying to give this certain treatment to?
Because the TV told us so. The TV doctors told us so.
I'm like, nah, that don't make no sense. I'm like, so I said, so that's even making it worse because people who are vaccinated now they roaming around free like
absolutely
like everything's good. I'm like, y'all don't want to spread it.
The vaccinated people were the fucking super spreaders
because you think you all right.
They taking cruises. They taking cruises, and everybody coming off the cruise ship full of COVID. Like, wait a minute, it's a fucking petri dish. It was a floating petri dish. And to that point, Denise, now the New York Supreme Court has come back and said, "Okay, we fucked up. If you lost your job because you did not get the vaccine, you are now entitled to compensation and your fucking job back. So now you have people who for the last 2 years have lost everything because they chose to hold on to body autonomy and chose not to get a jab of something that does not stop you from getting it and does not stop you from spreading it. But how many times, and y'all have seen this conversation we had on here with a few other people where I have been slammed up the fucking street and down it for my beliefs because I don't have no degree.
No, there's two things that can be right at the same time. I agree with everything I just said and what you said. But at the same time, I saw too many people die. There's a lot of people that I've known personally that
There's no doubt about it. People died.
And 99.9% of those people did not get vaccinated. And the people I knew who did get vaccinated did not. So all of that stuff but I was still like, yo.
I mean, you see, I stayed home for 2.5 years. My kids didn't go to school for 2.5 years.
I didn't like how it was being pressed like you are, like you're doing everybody else a favor by getting that. You're not doing everybody else a favor because you can still get in, you can still spread it. Mm-hmm. But for the people that I knew so many people who died and they didn't get vaccinated. And there's so many people I knew who, the majority, almost every person that I know who did get vaccinated, they got it and it passed. So it was like, for individual purposes, get that shit done. That was my stance on it. But it wasn't because you're saving other people and you're spreading other people. It was off of a direct experience off of the things that I saw and I witnessed. And it was
very different. And I feel like that's very different than, like you said, just it being this finger pointing thing and this person
exactly
this and anti that. And that's what I have been saying the whole time when it came to voting, when it came to the vaccinations, when it comes to like all these different things, flat earth, circle or whatever. Like it's always this pointing fingers, calling names. This person must be stupid if they don't think like I think thing. And then nobody's getting anywhere. Like and that is what we have to like avoid.
We are a polarizing society and we don't realize how far I pride myself. It's something that I said oftentimes. I am extremely gray. And I say that all the time. I'm not black or white. It's not one way or another. There's nuances to absolutely everything.
True.
And our society is extremely are you a Democrat or are you a Republican?
Yeah. Right off the bat, they teach us you have to choose a side.
Take a kneel or do you stand for the flag? I'm like, they ain't even the same thing. How come I can't take a knee and still stand for the flag? I mean, it's like, but our society is super polarized. Are you anti-Semitic or are you for? It's like, are you?
But that's how you control people. That's how the masses.
True.
That's how the 96% that own all media outlets. That's how they control the people. Is by controlling the people. And if you create division, if you create an energy of contention, if you pin certain people up against the wall to make them think they're fucking smarter and better than these dummies over here, they're gonna literally do just that.
That. And I was thinking about this earlier. Go ahead, Stokely.
That's how humans operate, though. And so I have to apologize when I was talking earlier about saying crazy this and crazy that. I've been sitting here driving, thinking about it. I don't think that because you think that these conspiracy theories are what they are, I don't think that you're crazy. I'm open to listening and learning and evaluating why you think or why you feel that way. Just like, who was it that said you have to unlearn stuff, break it down to the root, and then learn it. Learn what you want to learn. So me and Nikki, we talked about the vaccine a while back, and I felt like I was giving her the blues. Now I didn't go all
in. Both of y'all getting put in Facebook jail.
I didn't go all the way in, but I mean, it was just one of those things where I was like, okay, let me do some more research. Open to reading, open to listening to other people's perspectives on these things. That's what I do. I'm not going to just shut you down and shit. Nikki says, well, I ain't got the vaccination, and that's, just because you do doesn't make, or just because someone does doesn't make them better. No, but that's what we were being spoon fed.
Yes.
Day in and day out. I mean, you could go to bed at 3 a.m, wake up at 7, and they're still talking about the exact same thing.
Every day, day in and day out for 2.5, 3 years.
So when you think about it, and you're in a situation where, shit, I don't want to get this shit, and then I was thinking about my family, and the people that I was around. I was like, oh shit, these motherfuckers, So yes, I went and got jabbed, and guess what happened? Your boy still got COVID. And then I was like, ain't this a bitch?
Yeah. And I didn't get jabbed, and I got COVID, and so it's there. We know it's there, but this is what these things do, right? They create an element of fear. Yes. They create an element of fear, and if you can keep us scared, it's easier to keep us manipulated. And if you can keep us manipulated, you can keep feeding us these little morsels of things. And even
what Kyrie was saying,
to believe,
especially with athletes and stuff like that who are in peak condition, they had very little risk of there's not what athlete can you look at, especially NBA and NFL players, damn near all of them got it, but nobody died from it at their level because they're at peak, and this is I don't need to do this.
Right.
But so some of that, they're like, well, you don't want to spread to nobody else. Well, I might not want to take nothing that
But see, this is where Looney Tunes like me, this is where tinfoil hat wearers like me understand that COVID was about population control.
Well, I think, Nikki, you made me, not forcefully, but just us having that conversation made me do more research, made me read more about it, made me look at the bigger picture of what the heck is going on or is going on. So, I thank you for that.
I thank you for being open to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that, your tinfoil hat don't bother me at all. I that motherfucker when you want
shoes to match, goddammit.
Wasting foil and shit. But
no, I rewash and reuse all the time.
No, but that's what it's about. I mean, if we're allowed to consume these morsels that they give us,
right.
We're doomed. We are literally doomed.
My God! Listen,
we are doomed.
And this Kyrie thing is so dangerous. I'm like,
oh, I know.
And it don't even matter to me because I've been saying it for the last 5 or 6 years.
About it too.
The fact that someone didn't even state their opinion. They just
posted a link.
Posted a link.
And that came from it. Number one, and I also had offense with Jeff Bezos taking down the movie off of Amazon. Do y'all realize we are consenting to take away our freedom of speech every single day, more and more.
Yeah.
Right.
I've only been saying this for the last 6 years. This ain't even nothing new for me. I'm like, this is still happening. It's not only were they wrong for what they did with him, they're wrong for taking the movie down. Yep. They're wrong for if we are crabs. Is it crabs or lobsters? I can't remember what it is. But it's the one. It's not the crab in the bucket analogy, but it's the one where they start boiling you, but they do it so slow that you don't even realize that you're being boiled, and you just sit there and don't even move, and you just take it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're doing.
That's what's happening.
It's a slow boil, and now the water is actually boiling when we don't realize it.
Yeah,
right.
Because they've been slowly turning up the heat over the years, and we don't realize it's boiling now.
Right, it's a warm bath, and then it turns into your ass is cooked.
Yeah.
And we're doing it to ourselves.
We don't know it.
We are letting them do this. That's the craziest thing. We see it.
It's the agenda of programming. And I know people think I'm always crazy talking about agendas. And sometimes agendas don't even have to have one other than to program people to believe what they tell you to believe. And if they can get you to believe what they tell you to believe, they got you. Like you said, we're doomed. And I don't think that society
After
as a whole is
9/11,
doomed to hell, right? But
gas went from $1.10 to $2.75, and it ain't never went back down to $1.10 since then. In 20 years.
Where the hell you getting gas?
That's one of those things they says, oh, y'all still pay for it? Oh, okay. We rise it up to $3 a gallon. You still gonna pay for it? Okay, great. Good to know. We'll never drop it back down that low again.
I have a theory.
I like theories. Let's go.
So, I'm actually kind of glad that old buddy bought Twitter, because I feel like once he released the Kraken and let everybody say whatever
the Kraken, because this show is looking like it right now. Oh my God.
They were like, oh, the numbers, the usage of nigga went up
500% in like a 12-hour period of time.
But hold on, because I learned this in school. Hey, honey, I learned this in school.
Love you.
When you're actually analyzing data, that doesn't mean it increased that much because only white people were saying it.
True. Right.
You understand? That's
right.
Just because I say it now.
Right.
But if you phrase it like that, and then you have the Black celebrity saying, I'm gonna get off here until y'all do something about this problem. That's another example of sitting in that water.
Yeah.
About to be a crawfish whale. That's another example of that. And my thing is, like, I'm not saying it's cool, but people gonna do what the fuck they gonna do. But when you start there telling people what they can't do, what they can't say, it will slowly bleed into everything. And then when someone needs to get some important political information out to people about what's happening over here, back and blah, 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 that's wrong. Now you can't say shit.
Right. Yep.
And that's a dangerous space. Because in America, we our whole lives, all we know is we're protected by free speech. You can't tell Americans they can't say this or that or feel this way. Now, other countries, they might be like, yeah, you can't say that and you will die if you say this over here. Right. But over here, that's one of our foundational beliefs anyways. We're taught and told.
I don't see that anymore. It was like the same stuff that we allow now. I was like, if this was like in 1985, 1990, it'd be a complete uproar.
Did any of y'all happen to click on the video that I posted? It was I'm drawing total blank on these two comedians, and their names and faces are in my head right now. Oh my God, I don't know why this is a total brain fart for me right now. It wasn't Dennis Leary, it was it's gonna piss me off, but nonetheless, there were two. It was a comedian and it was an interviewer, and this was like early 90s. I watched the first 15 minutes. It was Dennis. What?
Is it Dennis O'Leary or what's?
I think it's something along those lines. But he's interviewing
the guy
Kevin O'Donnell. It's Kevin O'Donnell and I can't think of the other guy's name. But when I listened to the first 15, 20 minutes of this interview, and again, this is from like maybe late 90s, or early 90s, I was like, there's no fucking way either one of them would ever be able to say what they said in this interview. And there was like a compilation of just numerous different interviews that they had with each other. And it was so vulgar and profane by today's standards. But it's like a lot of, we talk about this a lot when we get into the conversation of comedians, especially, not just Black comedians, but certainly for those of us that have, grew up watching all of the Black comedians, shit like the shit that was said in Raw back in the day could not be said today. The things that were said in Delirious back in the day could not be said today.
They act like that stand-up don't exist no more because they already know what's in it. They don't even
Richard Pryor, CBS gave Richard Pryor like a variety show back in the 70s, mid-70s.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
1977,
about
I think.
The pyramids and stuff like that.
Richard Pryor had a television show on CBS on cable. Wow.
Was it the one where I think Q, you're talking about the one where the archaeologists go into that cave and
Yeah,
he's pointing out, he's like, okay, yeah. So that was like the straw that broke the camel's back for them, I guess.
Yep.
They snatched that Negro off of air because he was telling us, you know, saying truth. It's just like we were talking about Kyrie. I mean, Kyrie said some things. Kanye. These are all things, you know, when you start speaking truth, the powers that be will shut you down. They'll just shut you down. And so they did that to Richard Pryor. They did it to, and you're right, Nikki, shit, half the shit that was on air, you know, in the 70s, some of those shows, sitcoms, Archie Bunker, you know, shit like that.
Right.
You can't say that shit on TV these days. These people have a fit, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's where we are, though.
I watched so when all of this anti-Semitic stuff started coming up, I was just looking up just researching a bunch of different stuff, and I came across, one of my friends sent it to me. I've been getting some of the greatest forwards. So one of my friends sent me a clip of SNL, and I posted this too on Freethinkers and my page, of Eddie Murphy doing a skit about, what did they call it? Hymietown. And I didn't know what Hymietown was. I didn't know what Jaime was. Like, I didn't know. So I had to go investigate first to see what those words meant. And a Hymietown, I guess, is a derogatory, way to describe like Jewish neighborhoods. So they have this whole part of SNL is fucking Eddie Murphy singing about the Hymietown from Jesse Jackson's perspective from back then, when he got into it with the Jewish community, and Farrakhan came in and tried to bail his ass out and said, y'all better leave him alone. Do not kill this man. And as I'm watching this episode of Saturday Night Live from fucking early 80s, I was like, oh my God, he's saying these things. But in all actuality, aside from him being, using a derogatory word, calling it what he did, he was just kind of reiterating the things that Jesse Jackson said, which was exactly what Dave Chappelle said Saturday night on Saturday Night Live. He didn't say anything that wasn't false. He's just bringing to light some of the truth, so they don't like that.
You can say,
Dave Chappelle thing. Let me say this: the Dave Chappelle. Because he didn't really say nothing that was offensive on Saturday Night Live.
No, but you saw the Anti-Defamation League is coming for them with fucking
what they
guns.
Wanted to do, they wanted to get back at him for the Space Jews jokes that he was making on his last stand-up.
Right.
Because, see, it was such a... And that's the weird thing, how they all work in conjunction and co.
Yeah.
It was such a big issue about the LGBTQ and the transgender thing, that he got away with the little Space Jews. He made like 2 jokes. He got away with the Space Jews jokes. And nobody said anything because they were too focused on this other issue right there. But that's what they were, no matter what he said, they were going to be upset because they were mad about about those Space Jews jokes. I'm telling you, from the last one.
I think that could be it, but I think if we go big picture on the whole thing, I think it is back to the what do they call it? Buck breaking thing. It's back to that. It's like whoa, hey, stop.
And you go ahead.
Stop. Nope. Don't you say anything. Don't you stand up. Don't you say anything. You better go. This is what you're gonna do. You're gonna go in there and you're gonna say this thing, and you're gonna shut the fuck up. And matter of fact, no, you don't get to shut the fuck up. You gotta say this.
Yeah.
This is what I said about Dave Chappelle. We did a whole show about Dave Chappelle a year ago. We did a whole show about Dave Chappelle, and I said the thing about Dave Chappelle is they can't cancel him because they can't control him. Like Kevin Hart, they control his money. They can cancel him. They can take away his endorsements. I said they can't do that with Dave Chappelle.
No,
because he's not connected. And Dave Chappelle came out and said that in his stand-up. He said, that's why I didn't want I don't want you giving me no shoe deal, because
left the money
if I
on
get
the
a deal by you, then that's something that you could take away from me and try to control me like you did Kyrie. He came out and said that, and I was like, that's the same thing I've been saying. They can't control, and he knows that too. He's like, that's why I won't let you do it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not going to take your endorsements, and I'm not going to take your commercials. I'm not going to take all. No, because now when you do that, you control my money. Then you can control my voice. And not only that, see, even with people like Kevin Hart, even if he wanted to be his own person, he has to consider the 50, 100 people that he got on payroll that's relying on him for their livelihood. And he like, even if he wanted to buck back and say, no, I ain't doing this, he like, man, if I do this and they cancel me, forget about me. I might be all right. But there's so many people that depend on me that will not be able to sustain their way of life if I just go off the rail. Kevin Hart can't do that, and I understand it. Dave Chappelle, like, no, I do solo. I go out in the middle of the park and say, hey, I'm about to do a show in an hour. Come out and see me. Like he's like, I have a very small team. They cannot use me the way that they want to. And because of that, I can say what I want to.
And that makes him a threat.
Yep.
Can we get into what Russell Simmons said?
Oh,
I got to about the first 5 minutes of that, and Nikki said she was. I wasn't disgusted by that though. I wasn't disgusted about it 5 minutes.
So disgusted.
I wasn't disgusted as so much. I was like, I see what you're trying to do, but I also see how this is not going to be effective. Because and by that I'm saying this, he's saying that Black people and Jewish people need to come together against the common enemy, which he's saying is white people. I feel like Black people need to get on one accord with self first, because as long as we have our money tied up in any other groups, as soon as those groups decide that they want to pull a sneaker deal or tell you that your money has to come out of their bank or whatever else thing they decide, then we still have our control in another community. So we don't need to be teaming up with nobody. We need to get on one accord first and build our funds up and our money so that when we decide that we want to be on code with some shit, because y'all saying stuff about Black people, we can then say, oh, word? Okay, well, you gotta take your money out the Black bag. Or you can't blah, 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 play in the Black whatever NBA league is. We don't have that setup, which is why we have to be so hush-hush on issues that we shouldn't have to be hush-hush on.
And on top of that, you cannot commune with someone who hasn't acknowledged they're wrong.
Right.
You need for the thing. You need. Hey,
that's a fair concept.
Historically, we have exploited your people. I need you to say that
straight up. You've not apologized yet.
Right.
Thank
you. You have not apologized for your part.
We can't walk in lockstep with you until you acknowledge where you have been in this situation.
See, that was my biggest issue with the ADL's statement.
Yes.
About Dave Chappelle on SNL. And if you go to the Free Thinkers page, there's a post where it has. I'm sorry?
I said they keep ignoring the real issue. They deflecting. Everything that they're doing is deflecting.
Their fucking response was nothing but white fragility, white denial, and white tears. All I could think of when I read the response from the Anti-Defamation League president was, how fucking dare you? How dare you? And I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm not hating on anybody. I'm fucking calling a spade a spade. Yeah. How dare you? As though the plight of Jewish people is so fucking much worse than the plight of Black people. It's been anti-Blackness from day fucking one. How dare the ADL sit up here and say, well, I don't know why these things are coming back. History's repeating itself. We should not be encouraging anti-Semitism and all of these things that didn't actually fucking happen by these Black men they're coming for.
It's about to be,
and you know, it's like, I'm just Stokely joking.
So it goes back.
You think it's about to get put in Facebook jail?
No. I know, no. But it's mind-boggling to me to see how white fragility has come out so heavy in the defamation league who's supposed to be going to bat for, you know, anti-Semitism and racism and, you know, unjust situations.
But it's one-sided though. That's the thing.
It's very one-sided. It is not anti everybody. It is anti coming for Jews. They're not protecting the black voice or the black man or the black person.
No, they never have. It's never again, another system that was set up to not protect everybody. It doesn't protect everybody. When Kanye came out and said slavery was a choice, he didn't lose not one motherfucking deal.
True
he didn't
that.
lose $1, but he's a black man saying it, huh?
I said, true that. No, you telling the truth.
So yeah, he's a black man saying that. But as soon as he comes out and says something against Jewish people, everybody, I mean, the endorsements, the contracts, the parted like the Red Sea. But Kanye made a good point. He says, well, maybe this is what will make people realize, black people realize that we need to have our own shit to begin with.
See, this is Stokely. This is the smoke screen, though.
Yes.
And as crazy as people think Kanye is, I'm like, do y'all realize he's privy to a perspective in an area in the space that most of us are not privy to.
Right.
So when he sit there and start talking about these certain people doing this and this and that, we're like, why are you focused on them? Do you understand that he has to deal with these people? He has to bow down in order to get the things that he's getting. Yes, he understands things from a level that most of us will not see.
Right.
And so the majority of people can sit there and look at him like he crazy. I'm like, y'all don't deal with this. Yep. He's in a space that we know nothing about.
And what did he say what did he say that wasn't true? Because he didn't say anything that wasn't true. 96% of the media that we watch is owned by Jewish people. And there's nothing wrong with that per se. That doesn't mean Jewish people shouldn't be entitled to own things. But it is the flow of information and what is controlled so they can make money off of black death. They can make money off of black lives. They can make money off of all things portraying the image of black people a certain way. But
they can make money off of black athleticism. They can make money off of black music. They can make money off of black swagger.
But don't you open your black ass mouth and say a fucking thing about us, because now we're going to cut you off at the knees. Now we're going to take everything that you have and we're going to turn everybody against you. All you got to say is somebody's being anti-Semitic and it's like, oh fuck. You can be racist against anybody else, but you cannot say or even give the illusion that you're saying something anti-Semitic and think that you're going to walk around and not have your stuff cut off at the knees. Right. That's pretty oppressive, if you ask me.
Oh yeah.
Farrakhan made a speech about that. He was saying how every major athletic organization, NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, hockey, even, is headed up by a Jewish individual. Yeah. The history behind the leaders of those organizations were Jewish people, and so he was making the point to say, so. We're pointing out the obvious. Kanye and Kyrie, or Kanye was stating the obvious. We have to own some shit. We have to have our own shit, because these motherfuckers are just going to keep exploiting us. They're going to keep doing it. I learned today, Mystic Village in Connecticut. I was born in Ledyard, Connecticut, in New London, Connecticut. I'm sorry. But we used to go to Mystic Village all the time. The Jewish people destroyed an entire Native American tribe and killed them while they were asleep. And this is history I didn't know. But if you go to Mystic Village in Connecticut, they have a whole village that's set up like old England with cobblestone streets, and people in the stores wear the powdered wigs, and men are wearing those mules with the buckles on the top of them and shit, and the women are wearing little bonnets with the, it's New England, and that's what they preach. But now the ancestors of the Native American tribe that was, and I can't remember, the Pequots, I believe is the tribe, but now they're fighting back, and they made them take down this statue of this man who headed up the genocide of these Native Americans. But see, this is what our history is. This is what this country's history is. I say ours. This country's history is disgusting, and I say it all the time. I've been put in Facebook jail for saying stuff about this country, the government, and how it,
I can't keep associating with
you know,
y'all.
schools us.
Y'all gonna get
Somebody got to be on the outside, goddammit. Go ahead, Denise. You had your hand up for a while.
So, not to make this a Jewish black thing,
Right.
as so much to call attention to something here. So, what I have been saying, and me and my brother talk about this all the time, and pretty much any black person, is the only people being canceled are black.
Period.
The only
Yep.
people,
Period.
because
really canceled. Yes.
Period.
because
Yeah.
even-
White people get reassigned.
Right.
And
Right.
To a
They
different department.
supposedly get canceled, and then they're on a new network making twice as much 2 weeks later.
hold
Or a
on.
new police department, or a new
Hello.
city council.
Exactly.
Yeah, they get reassigned. Yeah, to a different department.
Is,
Those are facts.
is anybody else's well running dry and their money being cut off?
No.
Absolutely not. Because let me tell you
No.
this. When a black person does something, now you can't bank here. Now your music can't stream here. Now you can't have an endorsement deal here. Meanwhile, I can go watch every Harvey Weinstein movie on every streaming platform.
Huh.
And not one person has said, we gotta fucking get his money out of our banks.
Nope.
We gotta take these movies down.
Yep.
We gotta not one.
Well, a part of that is because it's easier to do because they operate in the shadows. If Harvey Weinstein was featured in some of those movies, would it be different? Maybe. But one of the things, when you hide in the shadows, then it's easy to say, oh, I was an executive producer. I was the creator behind it, but you don't actually see his face on anything. And matter of fact, to tell you the truth, up until that scandal happened, you mentioned the name. Don't nobody know what he looked like. You didn't know what he looked like.
But
True.
if they
So they hide
started
in
to,
the
if they
shadows.
started to cancel situations like that, how it goes back to the flat earth.
Oh,
You
yeah.
start peeling that top back, and what the fuck gonna come up out that can? You start canceling Harvey Weinstein shit because you were against child
Right.
pedophilia and the shit that he done
Mhm.
did. There's gonna be a whole lot of names
And then that
attached to
goes
that
down the line.
cancellation
Now
ticket.
you look at these record labels and like, nope, we got to start canceling you. You promote.
Well, you know, and y'all know I'm the cancel boycott queen in this motherfucker, so I'm okay with letting go of the comforts of life. I'm okay with canceling out things that I used to maybe have pleasure in, be it food, shoes, television, whatever the case. I'm okay with that, and that's kind of been one of the bears I've been poking with this the last couple of weeks with Kanye and Kyrie is. Are you really about that shit, or do you just talk about that shit? Because if
Mr.
you really about
Farrakhan
that
said
shit,
that straight for me. If I was vacillating between different thoughts, but after I heard Mr. Farrakhan, I'm like, man,
Farrakhan hit that motherfucker so hard.
He hit it.
I didn't listen.
Woo.
I haven't listened.
You
I
gotta go
posted
watch
on
that.
Facebook and it's on my page too.
Denise,
but it
you
was
gotta go watch that.
I was
I just wanna
waiting. I was
say-
hoping he was gonna chime in. And so when I saw the notice that morning that he had did like a 4 a.m. Live, I was like, I went to the Nation of Islam page and went to a couple different links to make sure I heard it. And I listened to it with my son.
And see, that's another person right there. He's already been labeled anti-Semitic.
Well,
He's been labeled
absolutely.
crazy. He's been labeled the devil by Christians.
Look what they've done
They
to him.
found ways to try to shrink his voice so that people
To invalidate
exactly,
him.
to invalidate his voice and the things that he said.
Yeah. Because
Tell him the
Farrakhan is a threat.
Yeah,
Just like
absolutely.
Dave is a threat. Kanye is a threat. Kyrie is a
Hold
threat.
on. He do be saying some wild shit sometimes. Yeah,
But does he?
Oh, you gotta, but you know,
But
what?
does
I
he?
used to say that too. If you listen to what he says in the context, whether you agree with it or not, by the time he gives you the context of what he's saying, just like Nicki and Smack, like you somebody no, I'm serious. On the surface level, oh, the earth is flat, this and this and this and this and this. If you listen to it in the context and you follow all the way through what they're saying, it's like, okay, maybe I don't disagree, but that don't mean what they're saying is crazy.
Right.
Okay, I'll say it may be his delivery on some things that just be like.
Let me ask you this, Denise.
I'm gonna say this.
How many times have you actually
I love Farrakhan.
gone from front to back and actually
I love Farrakhan.
listen to the entirety of his message from front to back whenever he's saying something?
The things that I've listened to, they're not clips. It'll be like me playing something that's a long form version of it. Now, did I get through the whole thing? Probably not. But it'll just be certain stuff. I'm like, did you?
And with me, certain things, I'll be like,
things that are not true, though.
When he
like
goes
you
all
said,
the way and breaks it down from the beginning, I'm like, I see where you're coming from.
I agree.
See, Denise, I'm sure you've seen the interview with Mike Wallace, right? Where
no.
tells him, you need to shut your mouth, and he's telling Mike Wallace is on a live interview, like on 60 Minutes or some shit.
Yep.
How dare you? How dare you? You know. And Farrakhan, in context, if you listen to him, he's not lying. He's not lying. He's telling the truth, and the truth is what hurts white folks so much. I mean, it's painful for white folks. It is not Nikki, but it is one of those things where they get so offended and so hurt by what you're saying. But if you're telling the truth, it's the truth. The truth is still going to be the truth. It just doesn't change. And
then they vilify him. They vilify like until I've been enjoying Farrakhan for a long time, probably at least 2 decades. Before I understood what Farrakhan, not even his goal is, but what he says and why he says what he says, taking all the biblical shit out for me. So me listening to him not as a following person, like I've never found a lecture that I've listened to him speak that didn't ignite some fire in me about truth, about righteousness, about the power of blackness. And so I think one of the first meeting of the minds that I came to, and I've said this numerous times, like as an outsider looking in, Black people have the fucking power, hold all of the power and control. It's just a matter of at which point collectively is the table going to get flipped? Are people going to say enough is the fucking enough? And I've said this for years. And I say we, not because I identify as, but we as a whole, as a people, as a society, as those of us who may not be Black, who are against anti-Blackness at every fucking level, if we collectively control our dollar, we win fast. Real motherfucking quick. It ain't gonna take but 7 days if everybody controlled their dollar.
3 days now.
Man, it wouldn't take that long.
It's a recreation of something that was biblically said. If you ever, I don't know if you follow the book of Genesis, there's Joseph was someone who was made second in command under the king of Egypt. And he brought all of his people there. He basically saved the entire people from a famine that would have killed everybody. But then after the Exodus, the book of Exodus starts, and before it goes into Moses, there was a king who knew not Joseph. And they was basically talking about the guy who basically not only saved his people, but he saved Egypt because he knew how to ration out food so that they could survive during a famine. And the Pharaoh basically protected all of Joseph's people who were the Israelites. And there came a time, over a period of time, the Pharaoh didn't acknowledge Joseph anymore. And there came a time where the people were just there. And Pharaoh, they said, now these people are growing and they're growing and they're growing. If they keep growing like this, and if they realize the numbers that they have, they can overtake us. Let us put hard tasks on them. And then that's when they put them into slavery and bondage, and they start beating them and making them do all these. It wasn't because they needed it. It was like, we need to oppress them, because if they realize how powerful they are, they can overtake us. Yeah, that's the same story that's going on right now. They put this because they know we have ideas, we have lots of power and and creativity and so many different things that we have. Let us suppress them. Let us put our foot on their neck Otherwise, if they realize who they are, they'll overtake us. It's the same thing.
Steve Harvey spoke about that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw that clip, but he spoke about that.
Yeah.
I need some new tennis shoes.
I only like Steve Harvey.
Right.
I do, but guess who not gonna get my money though? Nike.
Adidas.
Yeah.
Adidas ain't getting my money.
I guess I gotta go to Reebok or somebody because I can't do it. I can't
straight up. And the thing about it is, Denise, is we literally can make that decision. We do not have to fucking buy Nikes. We don't have to buy Adidas. We don't have to watch the NFL. We don't have to watch the NBA. We choose to because these things are comforts and they're normal for us. But that is part of the problem. To something that you said, Stokely, and I know this is a really, 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 people feel, very passionate about this. And I can have this conversation with y'all because y'all know me. The comment that Kanye made about slavery, was it out of line? Absolutely out of line. But did you also read and listen to his context in which he explained why he said what he said?
That's why I say Kanye is a terrible explainer, but there's different levels of truth.
I did, and
the
that's
truth
why
you got to understand context. Under the
it's
context of what
dangerous
he's saying, I
to
know
get
what he
hung
meant.
up on the word slavery was a choice. Yes, he said those stupid fucking words, but he also used it as a metaphor.
Right.
Absolutely. And I read
he said,
that.
y'all not gonna cut me. He said, y'all not. They cut their tongues to be able to prevent them from communicating. He said, you're not gonna cut my tongue. At some point, we have to say no fucking more.
Right. And I respect the man for speaking. Like I said, I think it was a few weeks ago when I said, Kanye pushed all his chips to the center of the table. It was like, I'm all in. Fuck what y'all talking about.
Right.
I'll lose every deal I got. I don't give a fuck. I'm rich. Right. And like Chappelle controls his own money, his own destiny. He's not gonna. And Kanye wanted to be at that point, and I get it. I'm not mad at Kanye. I'm glad that he's speaking out. I'm upset that these motherfuckers are deflecting and not looking at the root of the problem.
That goes back to the conversation of intelligence that we had.
Right,
There's a way that you can say what you need to say.
Right.
But you gotta be strategic about how you go about things. And there's certain things I don't think he's strategic sometimes. He's too artistic and he just goes off of thought and mind.
Well, this is where reckless comes into play.
Right.
But now look at what he's doing though also. He's planting seeds for others that are more articulate.
Period.
That will send this message to the motherfuckers that need to hear it. Use my French, and they will carry that torch. And I hope it's somebody soon, that will pick up where he left off. And these motherfuckers, look, they're gonna have to get the message one way or another.
It's not enough people out there.
No, hold on.
You don't have enough Dave Chappelle's who can say you can't cancel me because I make my own money and I'm.
It's coming.
But hold on. You don't need a bunch of people who say I make my own money, so you can't cancel me. You just need enough people to say we're going to stand behind this.
There you go. That's it.
Because hear me out. And they don't. Again, did y'all watch the Jaylen Brown interview? And how he addressed the situation with Kyrie.
No, I didn't see that one.
Watch Jaylen Brown address, and he didn't even, I ain't gonna say he finessed it, but he said what he needed to say, and he articulated it in such a manner that all you could do is respect it. You can't try to slap, this on it or that on it. This is what it is, and this is what was said. Because he said something that he didn't appreciate how Joe Tsai addressed the situation with Kyrie, and he let that be known because he's a part of the Players Association. He's like the vice president or something of the Players Association. There are people who are starting to come out and say, hey, we don't stand by these demands. We absolutely do not. And if enough of us just start doing that, then we'll be okay. We are so used to in the community is we want a Malcolm and we want a Martin and we want a martyr. Kanye, in so many ways, just was like, all right, well, I'm about to say something way over here.
I'll be that.
But Denise, the reason I don't think. Go ahead.
I'm about to take X, Y, and Z, because let's be clear. When I was in school, I had to read like an excerpt from the Life and Times of Frederick Douglass. And Frederick Douglass described this moment where they're about to run. They had the plan together, him and I think 2 other people, and this is what they're about to do, and they're getting ready to run. And they're gone, and they're on their way, and they have their shit packed. But guess what? One of the slaves who was supposed to run with them, what did he do? He told. That was a choice that they made to do that, right? What I said is not as offensive as slavery was a choice, but I just said the same thing. Sometimes you have to say some shit in such an outrageous way, just so people will just listen.
And that's what he said. He said it was just an idea. It was just an idea, is what he said.
Okay, Denise.
It's sad.
I'm listening.
It's sad, but the world that we live in, where everything's so polarizing and everything's so exaggerated, it almost makes you wonder, can you just say something regular and people actually listen and hear you out? I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it can't be said better, but sometimes I kind of see the necessary evil in saying some shit without tact.
Well, here's my take on that.
Coming from the least tactful person, I agree.
I have said some shit on Facebook, and let me tell you, I thought they were coming for me, you know. But you do have to say, and it's not for shock value. It's for, I'm just through playing with you, with these people. And you have to say it that way. And I think you're right in saying, if we support when Kanye says these things, if he has the support behind him, we don't need 20 million people that are, you know, that don't need money. You know what I'm saying? Like the Chappelles and the Kanyes that are filthy rich. We don't need 20 million of them. We just need, 20 million supporters behind them.
You have something to say. It's on you heavy.
I know he's over there like in the corner, like.
No, it's just that it goes back to what I said before. In order, you talking about the 20 million people to just get behind them, I don't think people have the ability to, because they're not in the space to understand what he's saying. How many of you have talked to a wealthy Jewish man to understand how they work, and how many people have actually had to do business with them, and they say, "Oh no, you can't." And Kanye said it 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I could talk about sex, guns, and drugs, but if I rap about God, my record won't get played. He's telling you way back then, I am limited on what people will allow me to rap about. And even that album, he had to fund it himself because people weren't getting behind it. Rockefeller didn't get behind it, and the powers that be didn't get behind it.
Yeah, it wasn't a Black Demise album. It wasn't going to get traction.
Exactly. And the only reason that came out is because he funded it himself. So my point is, if you think everybody's going to get behind it, then they're not, because they don't get it. And they're not in position to get it and understand it. So
luckily you don't need everybody. You just need a few. You don't need everybody. That's why they can pull off Flat Earth, because you don't need everybody to be involved. You just need some to be involved, just enough. And again,
okay, Nikki, let me say this real quick before I forget, because this is the other thing I was thinking. The other reason why I know it's not either going to work or it's not working to this point, people are still this goes back to intelligence also. This goes back to intelligence also, what we were talking about last week. Right. They still talking about I support Kanye. Forget Kanye, forget Kyrie if you are really on code. Right. All of that is a smoke screen. What are they saying? Every time you start talking about Kanye, Kyrie, but you're not actually addressing what they're saying, then that means that most people ain't got it. See, so anybody who want to have a conversation with me, it ain't going to be about Kanye or Kyrie. It's going to be like, hold on, no, forget about them. What did they say? And let's break down if what they said has validity. And most people are not savvy enough to do that. If you're not savvy enough to do that, you can always be diverted.
Yep.
That's why I feel like we're not there yet. If I heard more conversations about what was being said versus who said it, then I might believe it. But I keep hearing about who said it more than what was actually said. So you're missing the point.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
We definitely got to get on one accord. We're not on one accord, and that's the problem. We're not on one accord.
And I feel like, I hope that what's happened with Kyrie is very different than what happened with Kanye, right? Kanye has obviously said things that have made people feel some type of way. So it's easy to dismiss him if you're stuck on his statement that slavery was a choice. It's easy to dismiss him if you feel some type of way about that. Kyrie didn't actually do or say a fucking thing. So to see another black man with power just literally post the link and then be treated as though he is the scum for saying all of these horrible Jewish hating things, which he did not do, to then have his owner double down on him and say, I think the words that they said was him get in line. So to get this black man in line, this is what you have to do to come back over here on our good graces. But Kyrie didn't say anything. You could be mad at Kanye if you want to. Kyrie didn't do a fucking thing. Nope. So to see white supremacy and the Jewish community behind white supremacy saying, well, Kyrie, you got 5 more fucking days to finish this list. If you don't finish this list, you don't get your job back.
And you got to bring people
back needed to see that. It isn't about Kanye and his crazy ass and the shit that he says. It's about black people and fucking power in a white world, and how white society does not want black.
If anybody tried to have a conversation with me outside of our circle, if anybody tried to have a conversation with me, you know that they couldn't. Like, the first thing we're going to do, what do you think about, hold on, before we do anything, let's have a conversation with what is a Semite. Before we get there, you can't have no conversation with me about nothing. We're going to break down some facts first, and then once we establish some facts, then we can start talking. And most people are not willing to do that because they don't know how to keep the topic on point. It's easy, like everything about entertainment, the media, the powers that be, I'm not saying any names, they know how to divert your attention to focus on the wrong thing. And you can't do that with me. But that's what I'm saying. But most people you can, though. That's the problem.
Well, that goes back to your favorite word, conditioning. That goes back to conditioning and programming.
Can I say this, though? I have noticed that since we've had this conversation, that this is the first time I'm really hearing on a grander scale where people are actually acknowledging that there are Semites, whereas before it was just Semite. Now we're getting a little differentiators in there that were not there before. So I do feel like the conversation is starting to happen, but to your point, Q, distractions. Nike deal, NBA, this, that. It's like,
Because still ain't nobody talking about Brett Favre. Ain't nobody punishing Brett Favre yet.
Thank you. Ain't nobody.
You know,
Brett Favre, right?
The governor of Mississippi and Brett Favre have taken millions and millions and millions and millions of welfare dollars out of people's pockets. And then I heard that I was reading some stuff that there's a very significant portion of some Jewish communities that are also involved in some welfare fraud in a couple other states right now. So you talked about smoke screens. Absolutely, there's smoke screens. And it's almost like whatever the media shows you, you can't believe that. You got to go around that mug to see what's behind that to get to the truth of what they're trying to cover up.
Because we don't, number one, we don't control any media outlets. Nope. And even social media has become so controlled to a point that they can like I'm in a group with it's called King Speak, and it's all black men on just a messaging thread. And the guy he was showing me that he was like, he got banned, like put in Facebook jail for just posting a video talking about where the original Semites came from. I'm like, how in the world is this bannable material?
Because it's a Jewish platform.
He's in Facebook jail. There was nothing, literally, I mean, zero, nothing that is anti-Semitic, meaning
Right.
trying to oppress or talk bad or this and this and that. They just talked about history and where the term came from and where, and he got put in jail for that. And it's like, wow.
Now, can I point this out? So the link that is something that, so the link that Nikki posted for the flat earth thing, right?
I saw that. Oh my God. I was like, what the hell? That was crazy. I'm like, why in the world is this? Why do you need to fact check this and talk about? I'm like, see, that's the type of stuff right there that make me be like, I need to watch this.
Now let's unpack this. Now I work for a design company, so I know like how interaction design works, which is like basically how you navigate something visually, right? So before, the main thing that I'm seeing here while I'm looking at it is that this is saying it's false information. And then down here in a lighter color at the bottom, which is a less relevant, it says see link. So before I can even see what this is, you're telling me that it's false information.
Right.
False.
Right.
And then down here, I
got it covered up like it's profane and like it's
just. You think you about to see a murder or something on there? Like what?
You're telling me it's false, and then you're asking me to see why and making that more prioritized than the actual link itself.
Right. It took me a while to find it. I was sitting up here like, okay, can I even get to this or what? Am I able to?
When I realized they put the fact checker up there, I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding. But a friend of mine just posted, I've been in Facebook jail for posting stuff about the vaccine that didn't even have the word vaccine in it. Like literally, what was the last time I went to jail for? It was something about the vaccine. But it was a forward that I shared of somebody else's.
Right.
And as soon as I shared it, I got like 30 days immediately. Her shit is still on her page. But because I said, and y'all thought this poison jab was going to be your like miracle cure or something, that got me 30 days of jail just for saying, I didn't say anything.
Right.
I didn't type the word vaccine. I didn't say fuck the vaccine. I didn't do any of those things.
And what
control?
So controlling information, the flow of information is dangerous.
So dangerous.
Who makes an independent fact checker?
And we've already learned the independent fact checkers aren't fucking independent. They're paid.
Right. Absolutely.
To give information in a way that's favorable to the powers that be.
It's given algorithm.
Yeah. Like after I saw the fact checker box go up, Denise, I legit was like, fuck, I'm about to get a flag. Like I know.
But that's what made me pay attention.
I'm going to get a flag.
Wherever I see high levels of resistance, I'm like, oh, it must be something to this. Why are they trying so hard to suppress this idea? And that goes with all types of stuff. Whenever I see strong levels of opposition, I'm like, oh, it must be something to it then.
Yeah, like social media has canceled Rizza Islam on every channel. I think he's had like at least 9 or 10 different Instagram accounts, Rizza Islam, but they continue to shut him down everywhere. Like he is banned from social media. Why? He's not saying anything inflammatory. He's just sharing information, sharing knowledge in a platform in which we're supposed to be able to share information. Just like they didn't, canceled Kanye and canceled other people on social media. And I get it. Some people do say offensive things. I totally get it. But that is controlling information.
Stuff, like even on a smaller level, like why y'all keep blacking out Black Tea Talk? Like for real? Like why? Like they would just shut it down all the time. Like really?
We get it on Free Thinkers every single week. Every week when this show is over, I get somebody who's like, oh, I watched y'all. And I'm like, damn, I had no clue. I never saw your name pop up. It didn't show me you were watching it. It showed us we had 1 viewer, but there was 6 of us on. How's that possible? Right. We can get off this conversation tonight, and I guarantee you we'll have probably 30, 40, 50 views. But this motherfucking view counter hasn't gone up more than I think 7 or 8 people this whole entire show. They're constantly shadow banning, shadow banning, shows like this and shows like Black Tea Talk. And, the little quote that Smack used to always throw up on Black Tea Talk, don't be telling the truth around here. You can't be telling the truth around here on social media. But it's the truth. They do not want people telling the truth. And they damn sure don't want black folks telling the truth. And if that's something that you question, you are part of the problem. You are not a part of the solution, because you just watch it happen with Kanye and Kyrie, and then you saw what they did with Shaq and Charles and LeBron. I'm not surprised by Shaq and I'm not surprised by Shaq and Charles, but I'm definitely surprised by LeBron.
But you know what? That makes me believe.
I was so sad about that.
So many instances. Say if it was me, it's like I don't have to say anything. So let me say, maybe I'm making 150, 200 million, this and that, and I don't want to mess my money up. I should have the right to just not say anything.
Just say nothing. Just say nothing.
He doing this thing. Let me say. But the fact that these people, Shaq, Chuck, LeBron, that they come out and make these statements, I'm like, that don't even make financial sense for you to come out and say something.
But they're forced.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. That was my thought. I'm like, they're forcing these people to come out and say something.
Yep.
Because under any other circumstance, you just, if I agree with it, if I'm neutral, I'll just not say anything. I'm gonna keep getting my checks, and I'm gonna just stay silent on this. But the fact that you have to come out and say something,
somebody's got interference.
Oh, that's stupid. He ain't got no ear.
You gotta be stupid. We stuck in a mess it all up
all the time. But that's one of those things. It let me know. It's like they're being forced. There's a call being made.
Yep.
Hey,
get on out there. Get on out there.
Make a statement about.
Get on out there. Go get in line. They might as well go on ahead and throw a bully out there. Go on ahead and get out there, boy. They might as well go on ahead and throw one of those motherfuckers out there.
Nikki, there's no beneficial gain for you to come out and speak for or against or in between. There's no financial gain in that. So why say anything? Well, anybody who really about their money, it's just not gonna say nothing.
But there is, if you know that if you don't say something, they finna look at you sideways.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Outside interference, there will be no benefit, or there's nothing to gain from saying something. The only reason that you say something is because of the fear of loss.
Yep.
And they're telling you, we need you to make a statement.
Yep.
If you don't make a statement, then we consider that as you being on his side of blah, 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 blah. So that's the only reason.
So looking at the bigger picture, it's all strategic.
Oh, yeah.
And right now, or I guess when haven't black people been pawns on the fucking board of chess in this country that we live in, this good old American country that we live in? It's this whole thing with this anti-Semitic shit and Kanye and the Kyrie and like
even more so.
This has made me look beyond white supremacy. I thought the highest passivity level I could feel was white supremacy, but this is fucking beyond. And this could be a totally ignorant, offensive thing to say, so I apologize in advance, but I really don't, because I don't know how I'm saying this. I just don't want to hurt somebody's feelings who might be feeling some type of fragile way.
That's non-apologetic apology we about to hear.
Well, that's what motherfucking somebody should have maybe been said. But it's almost like white Jews are oiling the wheel of white supremacy. Like, that's how I feel this looks today. When you can't say nothing about them, and they will cancel you at every cost, even if you didn't say or do anything wrong. For me, that's beyond white supremacy.
And I know this. Say it was just Shaq and Chuck. These are people on TV that's paid to give their opinion, and they talk about various things. Maybe. I don't think so, but maybe you just, this is what we do. We talk about stuff. But LeBron, he doesn't get paid to talk about these things and make a statement. So the fact that he came out and said, I know there's an agenda.
They needed another,
because that's not even his job. That's not his responsibility. That's none of that stuff for him to say. And they always look for, they got to find all the token black people that they know to come out and say something.
Yeah.
It's always the token black people. How come Ernie ain't had to say nothing? Ernie on the same show.
Right.
Because we got to get the token black people. So, yeah. All right, we had 3 hours and 30 minutes. This is probably a record long time for us. I promise, we will do a hard close next week.
Well, this was just one of those conversations.
Yeah, it was necessary.
Sometimes we do this. Sometimes this is what we call back in the day parking lot conversations.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
this is where we just is more than 2 hours. And I don't know why I can't get this screen to disappear from my page. I'm sorry. I'm trying to let Stokely back in, but it's not letting me. You'll have to try to do it.
He already on. That's why he already on. He just don't have his camera up, but he's in.
Yeah, and again, so this is just one of those conversations where
he got a second one.
You're welcome to leave whenever you need to leave, and you're welcome to stay as long as you want to stay. But like, I think that these conversations are important, and I personally love this conversation because, again, as an outsider, observing and watching and looking and feeling, and over years worth of observing, like I damn sure agree that slavery was not a fucking choice at all. But I do believe at some point, like you said, Denise, collectively, it's just time. It's just time. People have to stand up Nikki, at the table. It is
let me say
just time.
There's different levels of truth. And now let me tell you, this is the conversation that I do not have with most people, and I usually don't have it in public, because the average person not gonna understand. There's levels of truth. So let me just break it down like this. When you talk about slavery as a choice, I won't even combat that. What I will say is, like Killmonger said, there were several people who just jumped off the boat. There were several people there was a lot more rebellions that were spoken of. There were a lot of people who did choose and say, no, I'm not going to stay in this condition. Again, I'm not going to combat the whole thing. Slavery is true, because most people, the average person can't wrap your mind around what he said.
Right.
And on a certain level,
it could possibly be.
It's wrong on a certain level, and on a certain level, there's a level of truth to it.
Mm-hmm.
And most people are not able to comprehend that. And those are the things that I don't even get into. Truth comes in levels. It depends on what level you are. There's different levels of truth. So, and the average person, oh my God, how could he say that? On this level, yeah, how could you say that? If you see, there's other levels where color doesn't exist. There's levels that color does exist. But it's certain, but for some people, they will never be able to wrap their head around someone speaking from an aspect of there is no color. Anyway, I'm not even gonna get into that. That, like I said, those are conversations that I typically will not have, because the average person can't deal with that, because they feel like they're betraying their race. But forget race. There is a level that there is no race.
Right.
That's
why I personally don't have a problem with this conversation being as long as it is for us, because you can't just say, oh, I agree or I disagree with the statement. Like, sometimes you got to have some long, drawn out dialogue about how I'm thinking and feeling and thinking, and then bouncing ideas off of other people to come to a conclusion that, damn, maybe I need to look at this differently, or maybe I need to explore differently, or anything that makes me be a part of the solution versus a part of the fucking problem. And a lot of us are problem oriented right now. Sometimes I think unsubconsciously.
Right.
I think
oh, you're super muffly. You're super muffly.
Can you hear me now?
What device are you on?
I took my cell phone off of the car.
On a Kindle.
Keep it on a nook.
He's talking through this next tail.
Not the next tail.
Talking to them Motorola.
Let me try this. Is this better?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I took my phone off my car, and all that crazy stuff went happening. But that's a hard conversation, Nikki. It's a hard conversation to have, especially like if we're collectively sitting around talking, and Q said he wouldn't have this conversation because it is a hard conversation to have with a lot of people. It's so uncomfortable. It's not uncomfortable for me. I'll talk about it all day.
Right.
But again, people at work ask me questions all the time. They know my stance. Even my boss is like, "Ooh, I better not ask his ass this. Better not try to make him do this." And it's a hard conversation for them to have, because when you start giving them truths and facts and just look it up and read about it, then they get so defensive. Well, I had nothing to do with that. I had nothing to do with it. All of that. You get it's like white supremacy pushback 101. It's a playbook for them. And I can say something in California and then come to Texas, and the response that I get from a question that I'll ask in both places will be the exact same response, because they practice this. It's almost like that is their defense mechanism. So the conversation is so hard to have, genuinely have, and honestly have, that I get frustrated. I'm like, fuck this. I'm not trying to have, I'm not trying to stress myself out over your dumb ass. But that's where it is all the time. That's where it is all the time. And
it goes both ways also.
It does go both ways.
Like,
but
even if I was, I thought about actually going deeper into the conversation about the whole White Lives Matter t-shirt. There's certain levels like a person's mind won't go into, and I'm like,
true.
On a certain level, it's irresponsible. It's you are provoking. It's like inconsiderate. On a different level, it's something else.
It's eye-opening, and it opens the space to talk about that type of stuff. For me, that's where I look at it. You just made a good point. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Denise.
So what I was going to say, Stokely, is that is where I have the biggest issue with the conversations that we had and how Black people are being handled in these conversations, is that there is no space to learn, grow, or exchange. It's just, you're wrong, you're being punished. Let's talk about it. Because, okay, you're saying that this is, okay, so great. Well, like, maybe we need to unpack this. Like, let's talk about it. Like, let's come together. And to Nikki's point, there's got to be some more acknowledgement around these parts.
Absolutely.
While we're talking. But the conversation's one-sided. And that's my biggest issue with this whole entire thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're at 3:36.
Man, we went long tonight. I came late, and I still feel like we've been here.
Right.
3 hours.
And it don't feel.
It's all your
like
fault,
it's been 3
Stokely. You
hours
got
to me.
on, and we went another hour and a half.
It does not feel like 3.5 hours to me. But I also think that again, this is a safe space, and this is a space where even people who don't join us really have found a level of trust and respect for what we do on here every week, that this has become a source of not necessarily news, but a source of information that can be given just enough credit that people will go and research. They will go and look. They will go and explore. They will go and open their minds a little bit. They will let some of their walls down a little bit. They will allow their beliefs and thoughts to be challenged a little bit, and not in a way that is reckless or demeaning or confrontational, so this conversation is important because this is not going away, and in all actuality, it should not go away. I hope it doesn't go away. I hope the fucking fire gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and people collectively get on board. All people, not just Black folks, white folks, all people get on board with this shit's fucked up. This shit's fucked up.
It's real fucked up.
And the system is working exactly the way that it's designed, so we can't work within it. We got to do something else. We
Burn
cannot
this bitch
expect
to the
them
ground.
to come and compromise with us.
Burn
We
this bitch
can't.
to the ground and start all over. That's my. I'm to the point where I'm like Nat Turner at this point. If you ain't riding, you dying. No, I'm not saying that. But if you ain't riding, I mean, it's. I'm serious. It's one of those things where you just like,
Either get
One of
down
two,
or lay
Stokely.
down.
You're either part of the
yeah, get
problem or
down and
part of
lay
the
down. There you
solution.
go. Yeah,
You're
Nat
part
Turner,
of the
he told
problem,
him.
part of the solution. That's it. There's only two
Everybody
spaces you
that's
can
in,
be.
everybody that's in, take a step forward. Now look behind you. Those that didn't step forward, kill them. Be done with them because they're no good to the progress.
Well, look at here. The way this Euphrates River is drying up, I don't know what's gonna happen when it dries up, but some folks might get vanished.
Okay, man.
I'm just saying the conversation is necessary, and I
It's very
definitely appreciate
necessary.
you guys for hanging in here all this time and doing this. But again, I think that we have a beautiful thing here with free thinkers, you know, and we come from spaces of love and truth, and we subscribe to those things, love and truth, and we're not just talking about it because it's popular. Like, I think we do this because we have passion for these things, and we want something to be different. We feel like things have to be different, and I feel like, even though folks think that Kanye might be crazy, if anybody can pull this shit off, he can be one of those people.
Yes.
You know, you mentioned the word martyr earlier, and I don't know if that's the title that he deserves to have. I don't know if he doesn't deserve to have the title, but he's doing and saying things that, yes, other people have, but he's saying, fuck it, man. What do I have to
Anybody
lose
that
at this
says
point? Maybe the revolution will be televised after all. I don't know, but I know we
On
can't let this
BT.
we can't let this die.
The thing I keep
Yeah.
saying is just, even if you may be a little bit off, but that should not discredit what you say.
Right, right.
Don't discount a person totally just because you think they may be a little bit off.
Right.
A off person, or whatever you call a crazy person. A lot of crazy people say some of the most profound stuff.
Absolutely.
And if you discredit them, you'll miss a lot.
Yep.
This is true.
But programming is going to condition you
Mm-hmm.
to blow them people
You can
off.
only hear from one
Yep.
type of person.
And that's dangerous. That's
Very
real dangerous.
Extremely dangerous.
Denise, were you going to say something?
No.
Don't
All
be
right.
rushing me, Q. No, I'm teasing. Well, y'all, look, you rushing us off. Now, this
Look, I want
was
to
good.
before we jump off. So I don't know if y'all remember, quite a few months back, one of my friends from California, Sergio, joined us in a couple conversations. He's got a custom paint shop in California. We went to high school together, so we know each other forever. And he has been wanting to, like, give me something as a thank you for being a healing space, right, in his personal life. And so he sent me this a couple weeks ago, and I've been meaning to show it, but I forgot to bring it upstairs when we go online, and my camera's broken, so I can't take pictures. But this has got to be some of the dopest shit I've ever seen. So it came to me as a skateboard.
Oh, wow.
So it's a Tony Hawk skateboard, but he customized.
Wow.
He totally customized.
Wow.
That's nice.
The board.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
That is
Yep.
nice.
Wow.
So I had to give a shout out, man. I was like,
Shout out. Yeah.
he was like,
live.
y'all be doing the
Amazing.
goddamn thing. He's like, y'all have really inspired me to think differently and inspired me to challenge myself, have made me see things a little bit differently, made me want to see some things a little bit differently, and then also made me feel comfortable with some of the ways that I have felt that other people make me feel like I shouldn't think or feel the ways that I think and feel. So I know that what we do here is impactful and powerful and necessary. And so, yeah, sometimes we talk for 3 hours and 42 fucking minutes, but the glory of the internet is you can log off whenever you want to. But
that's awesome.
yeah, I was,
That's nice.
when I opened it up, I was just like, oh my God, like that's us. Like, holy shit, that's us, you know?
That's
just
nice.
a little group of people who like to talk. That's us. But for anybody who is still hanging in there with us, you know, we appreciate you following us tonight. I know we didn't really get to any of the comments. I can't see them. I know a few of them are in there. But, you know, we can keep the conversation going online. This conversation will probably continue because we're all pretty passionate about change needs to happen some form of fashion somewhere. You know, we might not always have the answers, but damn it, we can talk about it and come up with some solutions. So I appreciate the conversation. This is probably one of the greatest flat earth conversations I've ever had from people who were just questioning. So I appreciate that opportunity. We've got a bunch of stuff posted on our Free Thinkers Facebook page. So if you're curious to watch some of the videos that we've talked about tonight, they're all on the Facebook page, the Facebook Free Thinkers page. And if you've got stuff that you want to share, like if you've got documentaries or if you have links, if you've got books, if you have things that we should all be reading or looking into, post it over on the Free Thinkers page, man. Like it's not just a group of people who just chit chat. Like we're really trying to grow this thing, right? Grow this thing and grow this thing. And we appreciate the support. We appreciate folks who've shared. We appreciate folks who keep doing this thing. It was so good to see you come back the last couple of weeks, Denise Stokely, riding out with us for months on end now, you know. So it's been a wonderful experience, and I'm always grateful to be able to be in this space because this is a sacred space to me. You know, we joke about this being Tuesday night church, but it really is. It's a fellowship.
This is like class to me. Every Tuesday I come to class, and you know, I'll be skipping classes.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm learning, and everybody here has some amazing things to say. And Nikki, I promise you, I'm gonna read up on this flat earth thing. I'm peel my onion back a little bit and see what's really going on. You know, I'm gonna look up some Bigfoot shit too. I need to aliens. I'm gonna look at all of
one theory at a time, Stokely. Don't get
I like to do it all. I like to do it all. But no, it's just good. Like you said, this space is so awesome to be able to just you know, open up and say what you feel and what you think, and then bounce these things off of other people, because I know 99.7% of the time I am not right. And I value, you know, the opinions of other people. I value, you know, everybody's input, which is important. And that's how you create space to converse. Yeah. That's how it happens.
Yeah.
So I appreciate every one of you.
Thank you.
That's all I got to say about y'all songs.
He said we done. So we'll see you next Tuesday, same time, same place. If you have ideas, topics, things you want to discuss with us, share them on the page. And who knows what happens between now and next Tuesday. Y'all have a fantastic week.
One last thing. So this Friday night, I'll be speaking at American Jobs Gala. So I went upstairs 2 weeks ago, tried on my tuxedo. Every man should own a tuxedo, Q. And that bitch didn't fit, so I had to go get fitted for a new one. I bought a new one real quick, had the tailor do a thing with it. So I speak Friday night at American Jobs Gala, and I'll let you, if the video comes up, I'll let you guys see it. I'm just going to spit some more truth about the workspace and workplace. So yeah, that's it.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. Any news real quick, Denise, for us?
No, just happy to be here.
Okay, she said not right now. All right, we'll see y'all next Tuesday. Good night, y'all. Thank you